Good evening and welcome to July 26, 2018 Planning Board meeting. First, before we go there, I'll go with it. First item on the agenda is Whitetail Commercial Development. Mr. Dahlberg, if you come up, I got a question that might help right away. This is going to be 30 or so condo units, correct?
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to record a condo plan per RSA 356, whatever.
B1, 1, 2, and 5, yeah.
Both floor plans and condo plan.
Those aren't usually done until the declaration is made, but
Great. That plan, in my opinion, should have all these notes on it. Because that's the plan that the title company's going to see, the buyers are going to see, and everybody else is going to see. This plan is not going to be recorded, typically. We can record this, I guess.
you can. I suggest that you do, but we could mimic all the notes on the condo plan. It's just a drafting task.
Sure.
Given the, maybe because it is a condo, maybe we should have at least a couple of sheets recorded as a site plan, the condo site plan. Because you need to record the other.
We could, well, basically, we would just create an electronic copy of this and retitle it and move some things around and have the building dimensions and details on the units and the floor plans and that stuff. I mean, it could be part of the package, but I would suggest that we record both the site plan and the condo plans.
Record the overview plan.
Yes.
That's where all the pertinent notes are going to be.
We just have to go through it and make sure that it's meets the plat law and the registry standards, but that's really not a big deal.
It might be when we're done with all the notes. It might be when we're done with the notes.
Well, we'll add a sheet for the notes. We have to.
Okay. We did get a review from Bill Drescher
On the condo, I believe that's it.
on the condo declaration about 3:30 today, which is not unusual for Mr. Drescher. He's got 3 little comments. No big deal. Well, where to fix some of the things. He added a condition that whatever additional requirements the planning board wants should be put on here, not in the condo docs or declaration. So that's why I said you might have a lot of notes. So let's talk about the docs first. Can we do that?
About the condo document?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
It's somewhat simple, relatively simple. As I explained to you earlier, I got into a map tonight as I was reading through these. So I read through one other stuff earlier this week. So a couple things I got on page 6. It says, in addition, the declarant intends to complete 4 multi-story buildings. Multi-story buildings?
No.
Okay.
They're
Would you change the word
they're
multi to
single
1?
story, yes.
Okay.
If I can just get a copy of your markups, just make it easier. But no, it's not multi-story.
Okay. This is a question also, because this is not really a markup. On page 10, under statement of purposes, restrictions of uses, basically saying no part of the submitted land shall be used for A, B, C, D, E, F. F is any automobile, truck, trailer, or RV sales, leasing, display, or repair.
That's a carryover from a residential condo.
So is that not true or true?
That is not true.
Okay. think that's really the only things I saw. I know Neil was much more interested than I was.
I have a number of items which I think require a revision, or however you're going to do it, Mike. Section 6.5 allows secondary condominiums. In other words,
Yeah,
Yep, so-
that has to be, I think, needs to be eliminated. Section 6.7, you need to add the planning board as a regulatory authority whose prior approval is required for condo mergers. You had mentioned about combining 5 of the units into one. If that goes, that's got to come back before the planning board. Article 9 indicates that there can be residential uses. Okay, that's got to go, and it's only obviously commercial uses.
Where does it say that?
Article 9, the introduction.
In it for commercial use.
Second line.
I wonder if I got a different, oh, yeah,
You
okay,
can't get over version.
okay, and so, who did this? Drescher or?
He got the preliminary one you sent out,
and
then
then,
like 2 hours later, you sent a second one out.
yeah,
Well, I got the first one, not
You
the
got the
second
first
one.
one,
Okay,
right.
so they've excluded residential,
Yes.
that's fine. 9.2A. Does this ban any noise or odor, hearable or smellable, outside of the building? Is that what that says?
I don't know what it says, I didn't prepare those.
No part of the submitted land shall be used for any use that creates any noxious odor or smell, or unreasonably loud noise or sound which can be heard or smelled, as the case may be, outside of any building on the submitted land. If that stays in there, I don't think
Well,
these
that's-
units are gonna sell.
That's in the
Well-
performance standard of the zoning.
Right,
ordinance.
but basically, that just says that you have to be a good neighbor.
Yeah, but that means if I'm standing outside the building, I should not be able to hear anything.
I
Not that
don't-
I'm standing on
I
the,
don't think that's what that means.
Unreasonably loud.
This is unreasonably.
causes any noxious odor or smell or unreasonably loud noise which can be heard or smelled outside the building. I see. So a reasonable noise and a reasonable odor outside the building is okay. All right.
That's boilerplate Article 3 of the zoning code.
9.2C, what is garbage?
You don't eat, by the way, but yes.
No part of the submitted land shall be used for any dumping, disposing, incineration, reduction of garbage, exclusive of dumpsters and garbage compactors servicing any building. Does garbage mean anything that anybody throws away, or is it designed to mean, like the food garbage we have in our kitchens?
It's garbage, it's a commercial condo.
MSW.
My concern is that this apparently was a document that was originally intended for a residential subdivision, a residential condominium, and it's been modified, and I don't know that the garbage issue, I think you should look into that so that you're not precluding the businesses from
Generating waste.
generating non-kitchen garbage kind of things.
It's a commercial development, but what kind of garbage do you think they're gonna generate?
I'm only raising the issue because I think this is limiting, and I think,
Well, it's exclusive of garbage, dumpsters and garbage compactors.
okay, I think there's an issue here that should be resolved. 9.2E. If I read this correctly, no part of any submitted land shall be used for any automobile, truck, trailer, or RV sales, leasing, display, or repair.
That's a carryover from a residence.
Yeah, you probably want to eliminate that. Article 12, common expenses. I think you need an addition that includes a requirement to pay for and have in force at all times an environmental surety bond. I've checked, and there are a number of insurance companies that issue these. The most common ones are $3 million for a single incident, $6 million aggregate. So that if there is pollution that occurs, the condominium has a bond, has an insurance policy in effect that will enable them to cover the cost of cleaning up either the groundwater or the aquifer or the river. And that should be a common expense. That's it for me.
Table wasn't open. More a question for you than, well, a question for Mike Lee, when I asked the attorney. Common expense does exclude insurance expenses, so that it doesn't say what insurance is required. The declaration of condominium, I believe, has a very somewhat detailed list of insurance on page 36, Article 6. It doesn't list that one. It has workman's comp, it has a $2 million general liability, and whatever else you want. Then it goes on to say individual unit owners can have their own insurance.
So you're saying there's a conflict between the insurance,
I'm
Article
saying,
6?
I'm saying your $6 million, $3 million
Belongs in Article 6.
belongs in Article 6.
Agreed.
Yes. I think it does. I'll leave that up to the attorney.
And does Article 12 talk about common expenses and include insurance or exclude insurance?
Include administration, maintenance, insurance, real estate taxes. I've probably got enough pages all that stuff here somewhere. Chuck.
Yeah, I had a couple of things, although I think Neil hit on it. On page 7, 6.6, at the bottom, all units resulting from subdivision. Is this further subdivision, or are we talking about the existing subdivision?
Just talk about subdivision of the buildings into smaller units. He's not talking about lot subdivision, he's talking about
Okay.
unit subdivision.
Yep. And at the top of that page, there's a...
No. 6.6 suggests, in addition to other language, that assume the building has five condominiums in it. That's the way it's being proposed. You've told us that there's a possibility some of them could be combined, so there might be 3 units equaling one condominium to another, or all 5 sold to one person, so that there's only one condominium in there. 6.6 is another example of an instance of the concept that's in here that says one of the 5 units could be subdivided again to create 2 units, so that you would have 6 in the building, 5 original, and the 5th one would be divided in 2. And I think that needs to be eliminated. These condominiums should not be further subdivided, and if that's a very important thing for the developer, then that's got to be subject to planning board approval.
Okay.
Because it affects parking, it affects water usage, it affects
Agreed.
all of those things.
Agreed.
Okay, at the top of the page, that first paragraph, right in the middle, says the owner of the unit shall be deemed not to own pipes, wires, cables, chutes, conduits, or other public utility lines. And going further on in here, I'm not sure that I marked it, I think just the reverses, is that they do own them, and they're responsible for them. So, that needs to be checked out at least.
Oh, decks and patios.
page 8,
This is what Chuck is right here. This is really a question.
I know, I agree with what it says.
The owner of units, any pipes, wires, cables, chutes, flues, ventilation or other ducts, bearing walls, bearing columns, running through said unit.
Which are utilized for more, or serve more than one unit.
You're right, that works.
So if there's a bearing wall between unit 1 and 2, it isn't owned by the unit, it's owned by the association. You don't have the right to tear down the wall.
So,
Yeah, I think
so just this sentence
It's
goes,
just the part about the depth.
the boundaries and decks and patios. Okay.
page 8, 6.7 at the top, the last sentence. Units, and it talks about the association, to merge units that it owns or relocate the boundaries between the units. So that's still inside we're talking about in the building?
Yes.
Okay. On page 9, Article 9, that residential, that was brought up.
So,
Page 10, I had marked, that was the one where there was no automobile trucks, so that's been addressed. Oh, here we go. Page 14. E at the top. It says, the unit owner is responsible for the maintenance of all items, properties, materials, appendages, and that includes the piping, tubing, wiring. It seems like the unit owner is responsible here, but in the prior item I brought up, he wasn't responsible.
Here, it's only serving as one unit. If you go to the third line, near the end, it says, and/or other appliances or appurtenances serving only one unit. Whereas the other one said servicing more than one unit. So the bathroom, if the piping from the vent in your bathroom only serves your bathroom, you're responsible for it. If it services my bathroom and yours, the whole place is responsible for it.
Page 23 at the bottom, just, there's a couple of misspellings. The last full paragraph, actually, the meaning and intending to describe John Hellfield. I think that's John Hayfield. And then it talks about by deed of Hope Watt Dick. Well, Hope Watt and Dick Watt were brother and sister. So there again, I believe that's just a misspelling. Page 25, this is just curiosity, but reserving unto Mary E. Nichols and Mary N. Littlefield, their heirs assigned the right to pass and repass on foot with teams along the road running past the blacksmith shop towards the river. Is that a defined right of way?
It's a right to pass and repass. There was a blacksmith shop on the property. I'm pretty sure that that was a easement of necessity, seeing as how they're probably all deceased. Then it goes away, but the reason they're adding that into the description of the condo is that the land is subject to that right, but no one's gonna exercise it.
Was any building built over that right to pass?
No, the blacksmith shop is still there. It's a shed or something, but it is the blacksmith shop.
And then the last thing I marked on page 36, where they were describing the insurance, and what I noted, and I think Neil brought it up, was there's really no insurance, and they had to cover pollution, catastrophe at least, that I could see. In other words, if there's a tank truck empties into the retaining pool, pond or whatever, there is no coverage, or at least I didn't pick up on it. So I would assume some additional insurance might be needed.
Well, that's where the board's leaning,
Yeah,
so.
okay. That's it for me.
So back to 6.7. It's saying we'll relocate the boundary walls between the units from time to time. It does say in the beginning of, with approval of all regulatory authorities, so I assume that means us. But I'm not sure it does with the Probably not, actually.
Well, who's the regulatory authority?
How about if we put a period after, next to last line, owner or unit owner association may merge units that it owns, period. Cross out or relocate. I will make you a copy of these. Zip them out to you. Hopefully you can read my script. Zip them out to everybody, actually. Anything else on the condo docs and declaration? Good, so if I lose these, I'm in trouble because I can't send it out. Okay, shouldn't lose it. Do you have your alteration train subdivision shoreline permits? Do you have your DES permits
We do.
and septic designs approved?
No. We were waiting to submit that until, if the board wanted to see us enlarge
Okay.
the system, but that's just a 2 or 3 day permit. Same thing with the subdivision. It's like a week-long permit.
So you have your AOT subdivision shoreline.
We have our AOT, we have our shoreland. We will have our septic, and we will have the subdivision approval.
Looking through my old notes, I found if I can find it again, maybe I can't. A construction sequence for Rice's driveway,
Yep.
which at the time or sometime or other we said was gonna be on the plans, I thought.
I'm sure that we did. In that vein, there's 2 things I noticed that are not on the plan that we talked about last month, was the naming of the private road in front of, between the existing buildings.
Yes.
That's just an oversight on my part. And then the assigned parking spaces for building 3, I think it was, that was also an oversight, so we can also add that to the plan. And
Well, let's back up a second,
Yep.
and then we'll go back to the parking. So you're gonna put someplace in the construction sequence is gonna be Rice's driveway construction sequence.
yes,
I'm under the assumption that Rice's driveway, reading this, you go through the first 4 or 5 is just, the first thing you're gonna do is build a temporary driveway to get her out to Old Oil Mill Road.
correct.
I assume that's gonna be done first before the site starts getting worked on.
Yeah, well, they have to get in there anyways. They
Right.
can't come through her driveway off of Riverdale.
Right.
And
So-
I can't drive over that mound.
Right, so
Right, so
that has to be constructed first, but we have to coordinate that with her.
Yes.
So, well, no, we're gonna build her temporary driveway to a point and then do the transition between the temporary driveway and the access to Oil Mill Road. And then notify the police and fire and Vicky and everybody and work it all out. And then regrade her driveway, the easterly portion. And then it's all gravel, so it's really not gonna be a long, drawn-out process.
Yes, but someplace in here, before you get to rebuilding her driveway, that's not gonna be done until you're pretty much done with the site, I assume. Somewhere in here, there's gonna be, you got 12 steps. somewhere like after step 5, it's gonna be, well, you're not gonna pave her driveway or part of her driveway and then come back and pave the site, are you? You know what I mean?
No, no. No, it'll be finished hard pack surface that's passable,
Right.
and that's the way it's gonna stay until
Okay.
it's ready to be paved, so.
Anyway, just kind of incorporate this into the
Yep.
other one. And there needs to be a note in the plan, because we said there was gonna be a note in the plan saying Rice's driveway agreement recorded that.
Yep.
Whatever. Back to the parking, if you put assigned parking space in unit 3, and I assume you didn't do this because I see no place in the condominium documents for limited common area. So if you put assigned parking to unit 3.
Well, the condo plan, the condo site plan will have the LCAs for the assigned parking.
Then shouldn't those be in the documents?
It should be, there should be
There's
something
nothing
for
about limited
LCAs.
common. I didn't see anything about limited common.
All right.
I don't think I even saw a definition of limited common.
Well, it should be in there. It's part of the statute, so.
Yeah, there is a definition, but I didn't see anything else about it.
So I think what we should do is draft up the condo plan and assign the spaces that are necessary, but that's just, either it's there or it's not. Could be a condition of approval. So the road name and then assigning those spaces, and we did take the end doors off of the other 3 buildings per our discussions last meeting. It was only, I think, building, I forgot the numbers, but,
Building 1.
yeah, building 1.
So then you're gonna have floor plans for the 356 condominium law. It's gonna show indoors on unit 1 and not on the other 3.
Well, we want the option of indoors,
Yes.
because
okay.
frankly,
Okay.
the crane guy could
Right.
go out the door and, no pun intended, and not buy that building, so.
Right, true. Okay, my understanding is that, AccuWorks
Thank you, Works.
went out and looked at the site behind existing building B.
Correct.
Um,
No, I'm playing catch up, because I wasn't part of any of that.
I wasn't
I was
either.
in court that week, and Chip did all the coordination. We got the report, I just got the report this
Yep.
morning.
How about we back up and wait for Chip to get back before we talk about that area?
That's fine.
I thought at one point you were gonna take the fence out of the 50-foot, the existing chain link fence out of the 50-foot primary structure setback. I might not be right about that.
Well, we talked about it. It's in place, and we just wanted to put boulders on the 50-foot line to just let it all grow back and just leave the fence alone.
The whole area is gonna be,
Loaned and seeded.
do you care if the fence is removed?
Well, he put boulders there, but you didn't show boulders on there in the plan either, did he?
Are the boulders within the shoreline protection?
No. Well,
No.
they're within the 250, but it's not a structure, so,
It'd be 51 feet away from the
right,
reference line.
right.
So basically, you have a little bit of-
Where are the boulders? Over here? Okay. So what's this,
That's existing fence.
was that put in before zoning?
Yeah, probably years ago.
Put them before the shoreline protection act, anyway.
Yeah, way before that.
Okay, we're gonna add boulders to your, you can make it part of that road, actually. Can we prohibit salt being used on the site for de-icing?
Mm-hmm. That's one of my recommendations.
Me too.
I don't think it's wise, but you do what you gotta do.
Well, if your road is as flat as it appears to be, you're not gonna have a whole lot of icing issues, are you?
Probably not. Unless we have an ice storm.
Sand, lots of sand. Oh, note one needs change to mention condominium on the site plan.
Yeah.
It just says 4 separate commercial buildings. I didn't see that on the other page. I didn't see that.
On page one, Mike,
Of,
the overall plan,
yeah, the overview plan.
where you're doing that remedial work, you're gonna pave that area now as gravel.
Yep.
Could you fix that note that's underneath it? Underneath the cross hatching?
Oh, yeah. You're supposed to, bring that to the front so that the, plotting is in the back, it was visible. It just-
Yeah, but it doesn't need to really be, it's indicating that that area essentially, I mean, it's got 2 arrows coming off of it.
Yeah, oh, I see, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yes. That should just be to the area to the left.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
We were talking about, shortly after you left, about AccuWorks looking at the area behind existing building, calling it B.
Yep.
And I didn't see your quote report. I saw this,
That's it.
I didn't see really say anything about the soil. Or did I miss it?
You didn't think that there was anything out there that was contaminated?
He didn't say that before.
And it's all been reported to DES?
So basically, AccuWorks looked at the area behind the building, didn't think it was contaminated. Your client supposedly agreed to paving that,
You did, I have a signed,
Which-
I have a copy of the signed contract
which
for,
would be part of the,
someplace.
which would be part of the approval, basically,
correct.
if we approve it.
Well, if you approve it, the cost to do that is around 30 grand.
Right.
We're not gonna do it
Until we get
if it's not
conditional
approved.
approval. Right. If it's conditional approval or final approval?
Well, it'd be a condition of approval. A
So that gets
condition.
paid before I sign the plan. We'd have condition of approval A through Z.
Precedent,
A
and
through Z.
subsequent.
Right,
Yes,
okay.
that's fine.
And for the public's information, AccuWorks took water samples at 3 wells,
And did visual ground inspections?
individual ground inspections. I got a black and white copy, it's real hard to see the wells, but this way. It's real hard to see the wells.
It's my understanding that when the Granite State Plumbing Building on 412-200 was purchased by North Lake, they did a level 2 or 3, whatever, environmental study, and there were monitoring wells that were dug
There's 3 existing monitoring wells.
that I don't know anything about. And when AccuWorks was out walking around, I guess speaking with Gary and Mr. Remillard and North Lake, this was quite some time ago. And they tested the wells, and they're all clean.
I believe one of the wells is in the new building that it tested.
I really don't know.
One of the wells is in existing building B. I can kind of see it right there and right there. DW. I don't remember where the monitoring well was.
I think it's over by Granite State.
I thought it was too, but I don't see it. The black and white. On the color, you can see it real easy. Anyway, there was 3 monitoring wells existing. 2 of the monitoring wells. So I'll back up. They visited the site July 17th. They located 3 monitoring wells. Only one of the monitoring wells was in good condition. Therefore, 2 bedrock wells located on the property were selected to replace monitoring well 2 and 3. Groundwater samples taken from monitoring well 1, and 2 drinking water samples taken from wells DW1 and DW2. DW1 and DW2 are on the 2 existing buildings. I'm pretty sure monitoring well 1 was near Granite State Planning, I'm not positive. Anyway, they tested the water, well, they purged the wells at least 3 times from the standing water. All those ways they're supposed to do that. I'm not gonna read about it again, tonight, if I can help it. They tested for a long list of volatiles. 2.5 pages. On all the wells. Semi-volatiles. On all 3 wells. And nothing detected. I'm sure somebody will want a copy of this in the wonderful audience we have.
Yes.
Yes.
They can come in and see me.
Yes.
But what about
So-
Craig, what about the soil that's directly behind the building? I thought that soil was contaminated, the physical soil with diesel, and
They say it's not.
they say there's nothing from there that's in the wells. Or
No,
are they also saying
They
that,
did visuals on the ground. There's some small amount of residual oil that has been spilled, but not enough to be even tested any further than just looking at.
We did not get a written report. That's.
And that's
on
part of
this.
that's part of the enforcement action.
My understanding is Gary has agreed to remove that little bit of payment.
okay,
So. Are we done with page 1 now? Before I turn the page?
That's that.
On the sheet 4, you revised the snow storage area a little bit. It's a little wider, basically. The one behind building 4 is in conflict with all the landscaping that's going in the same area. There's a lot of red pines, et cetera, shown on sheet 7, I believe.
Yeah,
You have somewhere around, I don't know, 15 feet or so in that same area. So I think that snow storage has to be eliminated. You start storing snow, those trees aren't gonna make it.
Doesn't look like the snow storage on sheet 7 was revised like it was on sheet 4.
the lead drafter who did these plans, the landscape architect, left our employee and left us in the lurch. So we've had to cobble together, and that just didn't carry through on that. So I apologize for that, and we'll take care of that.
Either way, I think that
Yeah, that doesn't, obviously, it's not gonna work.
That's not gonna work. What are the little circles in front of each unit? Is that a bollard? Bollard, I mean?
You see one bollard, a pair of them in each corner, right? Is that what those are? Little dots?
I don't know what those are. I did not add those to the plan or have them added to the plan. There shouldn't be bollards, that's where the front doors are.
That's what I thought.
I honestly, I have no idea where those came from.
Mike, aren't those commonly used on metal buildings so that the corners don't get dented in?
Yes.
Yeah,
They show them at the corners. I don't know why they put them in front of the doors.
I see.
Some don't look like that. What's that one? Here, that makes sense.
Yep.
Oh, the signs along the 150-foot natural buffer, it's gonna stay?
Yep,
You have a detail on what they look like later on, how big they are, what color
Yeah,
they
there's a
are.
picture here in construction
Yeah.
sequence.
They probably should be putting a legend or something saying sign typical or something like that. Are those, and something about the signs being placed 50 feet or whatever they are, I assume they're 50 feet apart.
yeah. There should be,
That's why I scaled it, I didn't see a
there
note
should be a
about that.
note.
Page 17, there's a,
Yeah, I saw the picture of it, but I didn't see anything about where they're gonna be placed.
it just says 4 feet above grade, doesn't say how far apart.
Right.
Well, we'll call out the spacing on both sheets.
Okay,
Well, it says plaques set at 50 feet, 50-foot intervals.
where?
Um,
Did I miss it?
you did. Just the bearing and distance.
No, I see it. Okay. And that is part of the AOT permit, I would think.
Yes,
So that should be done first?
yes. That will all be staked off.
Why isn't this continued here?
On sheet 6. Couldn't be hard to find it, but you have construction fencing pretty much the whole way around it.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I don't see it from like, southwest corner of off building 4, the top of that slope around the point towards the well. From Bryce's driveway towards building 4, top of that slope.
Oh, yeah,
That should probably be added, just,
yeah.
you haven't topped the other slope, so. Some people have mentioned, some board members mentioned. A couple months ago, you beefed up the, you expanded the landscaping,
Mm-hmm.
and some people wanted it the double road down along the detention pond septic system area. one is sitting to my right that was, here is the perspective they did. It would be looking, perspective 2 is looking
Mm-hmm.
right at this building. Just to make sure everybody still wants that before I bring it up. He now has 10 blue spruce on the top that slope.
Yeah, but before those provide any visual barrier, it'll be 10, 15, 20 years. They grow slowly. And I don't know what their height is now relative to the building. I don't. What's the difference between here, the height difference between here and here? And remember that the building is 25 feet tall to the eave, to the peak, the ridge line.
Just about 2 feet lower than the ground here.
Okay, and how tall are these trees going to be?
When planted, 6 feet. But there's already some buffer there.
Yeah. But you're good.
Did you see these, Chuck?
No, I don't.
I just want to bring it up. I'm trying to get, I went through my notes for 3 months. I'm trying to make sure we don't miss anything.
I think it's important for the neighborhood that these buildings be visually screened from the get-go, so that all of the trees that were taken down for whatever reason and acted as a screen are effectively replaced, so that this visual intrusion is minimized to the extent possible. And these are the obvious places.
Yes. Mostly here, not so much.
You know, and I couldn't see much about this. I'm over here on the road.
So let's be kind of specific. On the other side, you can basically Colorado blue spruce.
18 to 24 inches, 5 to 6 feet,
Yeah.
2 to 2.5.
Just caliber. 5 to 6 foot balsam fir, and the main part of it, balsam fir and blue spruce. That's here.
Do you know how fast these trees grow?
I thought John looked up, said that blue spruce grows about a foot a year. But the first year, they're not gonna grow much. First year, they're just gonna establish roots and get
So-
healthy.
If you're at 6 feet and you're 2 feet down, that means you've got 4 feet of protection against
Right.
25 feet. That's 21 feet you have to grow. That's 21 years.
Yep. Well,
That's
that's assuming you're standing right beside the tree.
no.
That's assuming the treetop would be the same elevation as the top of the
Uh,
building. That's not saying if the eye down below it, you're gonna be seeing the treetop is
and
gonna
that's
be.
that's what we need to find out.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that trick in my
No.
mouth right now, no. I don't have a problem with saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the height right there.
Mm-hmm.
Adding 7 balsam firs between some of these.
But Craig, the problem is that even if you do a double row, staggered,
Yep.
which gives you the greatest possible protection,
Yep.
if you put them in at 6 feet, you know,
Well,
it's
the
nice to have, but it'll be the grandchildren who benefit from them.
Oh, no, I don't agree with that.
21 years?
It's gonna take 21 years. The road is much lower elevation than this is. So you're looking up.
I understand.
So these are 6 feet high. You might be, this line of sight might be the middle of the building.
Okay, it is.
It's not 21 years.
Okay,
less
it's
than
12
that,
years.
Maybe.
Well, River Road is 350 feet away. It's not, you're not standing right next to it.
No, I understand that. And Craig is pointing out that there are angles.
I mean, the ordinance says a reasonable screen.
And and just an FYI, if you go over 6 feet, I think the next cutoff is 9 for landscaping. So you might as well say it has to be 9 feet, rather than 5 to 6, it's gotta be 8 to 9. So it's almost double cost between the 6-foot tree and a 9-foot tree. The root ball is huge.
I understand that, but this,
So therefore, the success of planting them is lower. I'm gonna get into the reclamation and the bonding and landscaping later, but I would rather see him spend the money and have it work than to spend the money and keep replacing it. And you're still gonna get 9-foot trees planted 3 years from now.
I think there should be 2 staggered rows in both cases, 2 staggered rows, such that the building cannot be seen from, or screened by the trees when you look at it from any town road or from the first or second floor of any home.
That's completely unreasonable, Neil. And that's not what the ordinance says. That's completely unreasonable. It is.
So the landowner cuts down all the trees that were providing a screen and then doesn't want to put
A
back
screen
the
from what?
A visual screen.
It's his land.
I understand that, but it's their, it's the neighbor's view. And so, one of the things that we try to do in town is make sure that commercial and industrial development doesn't become a visual blight and lower adjacent property values.
So the 150-foot buffer that we're gonna leave doesn't matter?
It does, but I don't know what's going to be visible from the road, let's say during the winter.
You can't see it right now.
This is the summertime, lush foliage.
And how many people walk around outside and look at the abutters buildings and go,
But
man, that's
imagine,
ugly.
Mike, that you lived in one of the houses and you were up in your bedroom, you know, so many hours a day, you were in your living room so many hours a day. Do you really want to look at
I'm in my bedroom, Neil. I'm sleeping.
well, how about your living room? Do you really want to be able to see this from the living room? Is this the kind of thing, when you're walking on the road in front of your house, that you think adds to the neighborhood?
I don't think that's relevant. It's zone commercial.
I understand that, but just because it's zoned
No,
commercial...
I'm not gonna answer that. I'm not gonna be
Okay.
backed into a corner.
What provisions, in the event that these trees die?
We'll get to that. We'll get
Well,
to
there is
that.
a,
They have to
No.
bond the landscaping.
We haven't got to that yet, but we will.
but you plant them every year, they never grow, right?
That's where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get to that here in a little bit. I'm trying to hold off on that one for a little while. That could be a long discussion. I personally think if 7 balsam firs are added in between some of these blue spruce, that there will be an adequate, because they're really only we see in that building. Building, not numbered, whatever it is, the northern building from the road. You might see a little bit of this one.
You're saying add a balsam fir between each blue spruce?
In the second row, not between them.
Yeah, in the second row.
Right. Yes.
Offset from the
Offset,
centers, yeah.
right.
Except where the drainage pipe and the
Except
head
for-
wall are.
Right, except for where the drainage pipe and the head wall are and the sewer line.
You
No,
know,
not
cedar
cedar.
are a much better,
They're smaller.
they grow. I mean, you put in I have a piece of property in another state, but the gentleman next door is putting, they look good, put 10-foot cedars in. Close together, you really can't see through them. These balsam firs, are they branched right on the ground up?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah, so maybe we're fine.
So that's what I think of the landscape. We added those. Still got some red pine on the other side, but I'm not gonna worry about that. There's enough of those things over there. Kind of like this,
Yeah, exactly.
except these are all blue spruce. So I was gonna fix them up, just to be different.
And that screen is for rice?
Yes. Not much screening you can do in a power line.
You know, every floor's a committed white, not anyway.
Right. It wouldn't be a bad idea to put those rice construction details also on the driveway profile. That would be where, if you're gonna build the driveways, I would assume you'd look at the sheet.
Yep.
Okay, Bruce and I were talking probably at 5 till 7 about, he's got somewhere around 43,000 yards you have to bring out of here. About that, I think you said 45,000 yards, which may take a while, as we saw it safely stored down the road. And then there's always the possibility that 43,000 yards gets hauled out, or 40,000 yards get hauled out, and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, economy, whatever, the whole thing kind of stalls, for lack of a better term. So we were kind of thinking about some kind of reclamation bond in case it stalls.
That would be up to the selectmen.
So,
No,
it'd be up to us.
I think there were winter shutdown notes.
If it's mining and you have to reclaim it, that's up to the selectmen, because the planning board in this town does not regulate the gravel industry.
We aren't regulating the gravel industry, we're regulating the site plan,
Right.
so we can do it. In this case, yes, we can.
Well,
And I may have missed it.
a reclamation bond for the gravel is very easy to calculate,
Yes,
per NHDOT unit standard, whatever. We can prepare one of those and,
And what you can do is you can just convert that over to a landscaping bond down the road, because
a portion of it.
portion of it,
I think what we would do is, we already have a bond estimate submitted
Where?
as part of the, conditional use permit. There's a full bond estimate. It's like $1.4 million.
I don't
We'll
think
just
I saw
add-
that.
We can just add the reclamation.
that would answer some of our questions.
That would answer a lot of our questions.
Well, we
I didn't
submitted
see
it.
that.
It's a checklist item. Same thing for all the cross sections we added. Another $4,000 or $5,000 worth of work. Yeah, there's a full bond estimate.
Have you got one?
I didn't look at the last sheet.
We can certainly add the open gravel area as part of that.
Well, I personally, I assume he's not planning on posting a $1.4 million bond.
Well, the
Because
CUP application asked us to do
yes,
an estimate. So whatever you want bonded, then we bond it. We can come up with that number. It's a straightforward calculation.
I guess I should look at the last page, shouldn't I? So clearing and grubbing 3.76 acres, that's in more or less the disturbed area, right?
Yep.
So what we would really want for reclamation bond would be loaming
And seeding,
and seeding.
3 point,
Loaming, turf establishment, whatever you wanna call it, on 3.76 acres.
right.
That would be our reclamation.
I think there's probably a unit price for loam and seed already there,
Yes, there is.
so
That's in cubic yards, and I can't convert cubic yards to
I can.
acres real quick in my head.
No, not in my head.
We got a unit price of $23.68 per cubic yard. How many cubic yards an acre?
I don't know.
You said you could do it.
No, not in my head.
So anyway, 4 inches long is not a hard calculation to make, but
How many?
well, okay, I'll do the calculation. Four inches, so a cubic yard's gonna go,
.3333.
which 0.3333? Well, 4 inches is 0.3333.
Right.
3.76 times 43560 times 0.33 divided by 27 gives you cubic yards. I know the formula, I just can't do it in my head.
So 3.76 acres is 18,198 square yards. Times 0.33333 is 6,066 cubic yards. Times $23.68. Yeah, I just did something wrong. Equals 143,640, round off $5. Now we go to square yards, figures, 18,198, better write that down. Times $1.30 for turf establishment. Is 23,660. So we're talking a bond in rough numbers of 167,300. Assuming my math is correct. For loaming and seeding, 3.76 acres.
It seems like a heck of a lot of money.
Yeah, truck in a lot of loam.
You include the seed?
Yes.
Yes. Spread it here, the, now regarding the rest of the bond, at what point do you think he's gonna be looking to get a CO? I mean, obviously the site's not gonna be 100% done, right?
No, we're gonna have to do it in phases.
Right.
Well, all the utilities go in, the septic goes in, the parking lot will go in, probably to a certain point, and then the buildings go up as, you know,
You probably have all the foundations in at the same time,
probably,
so groundwork would be done.
yeah. No, the way the site is designed with all the drainage and the sewer, it's
It's all kind of,
it's
gotta be
cut.
done all together.
It's got to, it's all the site work's got to be done at the same time. It really does, you can't.
But, so I guess what we want to get your construction sequence, but you really don't, you don't have COs tied to it anywhere?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's up to the board. I mean, what's considered ready to go? I mean, what does everybody else do?
We're trying to prevent what happened in another site. That's part of our issue here too.
Fair enough. Obviously, all the utilities have to be in, the drainage all has to be in and inspected, septic all has to be all in.
Would the base course be down for everything? Would they go to seal? If he's got all the foundations, he'd be good.
I don't have an answer to that question. I can find out, but
Isn't it normal that a certificate of occupancy would only be granted after the entire plan is completed in accordance with the
With the phasing.
the conditions?
If it's phased, at the end of the first phase, he gets his CO for the
For the
first
one
phase.
building?
But that's what we don't know.
And I think that's wherein lies the problem.
Right.
well, we can draw phase lines, but the construction sequence should outline all the drainage has to be in.
Right.
The sewer has to be in, up to subgrade. If it's gonna sit for a while, then he's gotta make it winter ready. And that's all in the construction sequence.
Well,
You know,
not.
If the site's gonna be built in a bowl, basically, it's all drained into the middle,
That is true.
and it's all gravel.
That's also true.
And we do have numerous commercial buildings on gravel parking lots in town. Depending on, and we don't want him paving in January to get a CO in January. That's stupid. He can if he wants to get a CO, but
We allow bonding for the paving.
Right.
for commercial,
The only place I've ever seen it done was residential,
yeah, me too.
and the bonds are small.
I'm just throwing thoughts out there. I don't personally have an issue with getting a CO with a gravel parking lot. However, I don't think I want
Well,
80 COs with a gravel parking lot.
it wouldn't be gravel very long.
I would, right,
I'm pretty sure that people using that don't want a gravel surface. Pretty tough to maintain.
but if somebody wants to move in and all of a sudden it's February, there's not much you can do about it in February.
Oh, that's true.
You know,
Then we bond the pavement. Bond it in phases.
well, I assume you're gonna pave the whole thing at once.
I would think so.
You're not, I mean, we're talking about the phasing.
It doesn't make any sense
It-
to not.
The phasing we're talking about is really,
Basically, the phasing is the buildings themselves.
right. The site is gonna be done.
Right.
I would assume the footings are gonna be done.
I think the foundations would be all brought up to
Yes.
sill height.
Prior to the paving. So you're gonna have pavement, a bunch of concrete sitting there. And then you're gonna say, okay, we're gonna build building 4 first. Does it matter? Do you build building 4 before building
No,
1?
in this case, I don't think it matters what sequence the buildings are built in. There's no,
Put it this way, you can condition the CO on all the drainage, the sewer, and the paving, landscaping. Well, if it's in the wintertime, they'd bond the landscaping, but
No, you just messed me up. 'Cause I was gonna say, landscaping had to be in before a CO, but again, you're not gonna plant trees in January, February.
No.
When you bond it. The bond on the trees and shrubs is gonna be roughly 11 grand.
Well, at this point, adding 11 grand to 167.3 and other change,
Or 175.
it doesn't, it really, the cost difference is pennies.
I'm just trying to make sure the landscaping gets built before the landscape gets installed sometime.
Well, the landscape is,
Think of it that
the
way.
landscape is gonna get installed, but it's not
lives.
gonna be done until, they're close to final grading for loam,
Right, but I would
because we're
assume,
not
I
having
would
equipment
assume,
moving around very expensive trees, so,
I would assume when it's paved, the landscape will be done shortly after paving, not before.
I would think so.
You wouldn't want to do it before because it's
No,
really
it
close in
doesn't.
places.
No, it doesn't make sense.
You get islands,
Right.
in the parking lot, everything, so. That's what I was kind of wondering about, how we were gonna handle bonding the reclamation, and how we were gonna handle bonding the landscaping, and how we were gonna handle that type of thing. One of the things I was wondering about. Anybody else have any comments, questions, concerns? Okay, time for the public. Who wants to go first? I don't see anybody standing up. Yep, she stood up first, sir.
My name is Linda Beliveau. I live at 367 Riverdale Road. I heard the comment that, the owner can do whatever he wants. I live on the corner. Anything he does affects my quality of life.
Who said that?
I heard,
I said there
Well-
were trees, you can cut them.
no, I heard that it's his property, he can do whatever he wants on it.
He has rights to do certain things, yes.
Okay, but he has to be able to listen to the fact that what he does impacts, there's great impact, especially to me, because I live on the T of Riverdale Road, I live on the corner. So when they haul all that gravel away, my quality of life is gonna go down the tubes. So that being said, let's revisit the traffic study, because I have the document from Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission.
Yes.
I didn't hear any discussion about that.
Nope, not yet. There's a couple things you haven't heard any discussion about yet, but that's one of them.
Because I think that the last time I was here, I was talking about the traffic study and how it impacts the residential neighborhood greatly. I talked about the signage that was proposed, and I wasn't so sure how what was being discussed is going to impact the neighborhood positively. The signage that says that the trucks can only go my way and not in two directions. How is that enforceable? We have a speed limit sign that's down on the ground. It's been down on the ground forever. So we're not even enforcing speed limits. So how are we going to enforce traffic in a way that what is your intent? I don't even know why you propose to do that. So I don't know. I don't even know. I just would like some answers, some clarity with the traffic, because like I said, I'm right there on the corner and there's a delay. So little I know about a traffic impact is that if there's a delay, then that's the impact. So I'm at the corner. I see the backup at the corner of 114 and Riverdale Road. I see traffic backed up to my driveway. So we're going to be hauling gravel out. We're going to have more impact. When Granite State Plumbing came through there, that impacted traffic significantly. You can call it commercial, but if you look in the articles, kind of like their service industry, there's a car going by a minute. So that's a significant impact. So, we talked about the last time the proposal for the development with the new building was that traffic's not going to be impacted greatly at all. Well, they've got these two large cranes going in and out. What definition of that doesn't impact? It impacts. It impacts significantly because it's changing the safety of traffic. You're going to have a collision with a crane coming, pulling out of 114. I don't know. So the traffic study pretty much suggested that we need more information. Because if we don't get more information about actual use of what's going on in there, which, who knows what's actually going into these 30 condos? We're not so sure. So that being said, what are you gonna do about the traffic study? Because if you don't do anything about it, that traffic intersection is gonna plummet from a D down to whatever is below a D, meaning that the town is gonna have to get involved with the provisions to make that intersection safe.
May I ask a question?
Certainly.
What would you propose?
I would propose that we get some recommendations from the commission. They have traffic experts. They would be able to kind of take a look at what activity is going on, what proposed activity is going on, what kind of activity is going on already, not just from the pit, but also coming up down River Road and kind of merging into Riverdale Road. And then getting their recommendations and then,
But at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot more traffic because there's going to be 20 new businesses in there.
right?
So, even if everybody follows the signs and obeys the speed limit, there's still going to be a lot more traffic. Are you suggesting we not allow it?
I'm suggesting that we need recommendations so that I'm safe and everybody in the village neighborhood is safe, as well as the town of Weare is safe. I'm here to say that I do not believe that it's safe currently. Any more traffic to that area is gonna make it significantly more unsafe. If you're not familiar with the area, in the corner of River and Riverdale Road too, it's a highly dangerous road. So the solution lies in getting recommendations from experts as what we can do to make that safer. If that's going to mean getting some lights at the corner of intersection of 114 and Riverdale, that might be a recommendation. Getting some safety
So you're talking about
guardrails on the road.
safety and quality of life.
Yep.
How would you deal with the quality of life?
I think that there was some talk about the property values. I think that I highly respected the fact that you were appreciating the fact that we need some trees to go up there, so that if, when people are looking to buy in the neighborhood, do I want to sell my house right about now? I do. Realtor's going to come through with some potential buyers, and they're going to look at a pit that you can clearly see from the road that looks like a wasteland because all of the trees were down. I think that the first step is to try to protect the quality of life. I tried to get a tax abatement. I was refused for that. I pay mightily in my property taxes. So there are some things that I've tried to do as a citizen, as a hardworking Weare taxpayer, that, you know, how are those things going to come together? I don't know. That's up to you. I'm just here to voice my concerns, and it's up to you and your due diligence to figure it out. 4 buildings, is 4 buildings really the reasonable suggestion for what's in the area, or is, you know, just because he asks for 4, does he get 4? I think that the study of the impact that is happening in that pit right now would say to you that 4 would devastate a lot of the residential area, a lot of the people living there, the quality of life. There wouldn't be any resurrection from it, quite honestly.
Thank you.
The other thing that I wanted to rediscuss is the environmental study.
We have not gotten one.
Could you update me on that process, please?
We haven't gotten one.
What's that mean? Not getting one anymore? Gonna get one still?
We're gonna get one still.
Okay.
We made a motion to get one and we haven't got it.
And then looking and reviewing the history of this, I've been in my house for 25 years. I've studied it even when Granite State Plumbing went up. And there was discussion from the Conservation Committee that that's in a wetland buffer. So for me, it doesn't divide up, right? For me, it's all of the same property. So is this new development part of the wetland buffer?
No, the conversation with the Granite State Plumbing, if I remember correctly, there was a little bit of wetland in the back corner, and the wetlands shown on the plan were from a previous plan, and we had the applicant update the wetlands to make sure they weren't in the buffer. The buffer's 25 feet from wetlands.
So they're not in the buffer?
No.
So none of that property is in the wetland buffer?
Some of the property is, none of the
Some of it
development
is.
is.
The new development is not?
Correct.
Some of that property is?
Yes.
Okay,
There's certainly wetlands on the property, so yes, some of the property is in the buffer.
okay. And then the fire, I think that, I don't know if, it's a little tricky for me to be up here before you've discussed all of these things. I think it's a little unfair, but are you gonna talk about the fire protection measures that
Yes.
are going to be implemented down there too for
I hope so.
safety? So I'm here to talk about safety and quality of life and how this development is gonna impact me. And I hope that you guys can get some recommendations from the experts to make everything kind of work out for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just a moment, before we keep going. We got a review from Southern New Hampshire Planning on the traffic. It was a little 10-question email, right? Which I forwarded to Mr. Dahlberg. Mr. Pernow, the traffic engineer, came back, replied about those. I'm just saying 10 is a number, it might have been 6. I don't know what the number of comments were. And unfortunately, in my filing system, I do not have the email or the response.
We have a copy.
We don't have the response.
No.
Basically, Mr. Pernow said that 2 or 3 of them may increase it by 1 trip a day, and disagreed with the finding of the amount of traffic per some limited commercial use or something like that. I don't have it with me, I'm sorry, I don't have it with me, I apologize. Either way, saying that, we probably shouldn't get into traffic tonight, because we don't have a hydrologic report anyway. So until we get a hydrologic report, we're not gonna make any huge leaps. At least I'm not gonna make, go for that.
May I ask you to please repeat that? I'm sorry, I didn't catch the beginning part. About the traffic study?
I just said that Southern New Hampshire Planning reviewed it. I can't remember the guy's name now. We got an email, Chip and I got an email review from them, which I forwarded to the applicant, who he forwarded to the traffic engineer. The traffic engineer did respond, and unfortunately, I don't have either one of those 2 documents with me tonight. So I was looking for the whole time you're talking, and I was listening to you, honest. But I was looking for those 2 documents, and I don't seem to have them. Unless it's underneath, what's that?
No.
Okay, no.
Nate Miller.
Yes. Nate Miller's from the Southern New Hampshire Planning Board. And Nate came back and said that his comments stand or something like that. So he came back and said, yeah.
Pretty much it's up to you.
Yeah. So I think, either way, well.
Nate Miller's not a traffic PE.
If Mike has some,
Mr. Pernow is, and here's the Southern New Hampshire Regional Report. They base their report on, like a Manchester area car dealership for their traffic counts or estimates. It's not the same thing. It's not the same category at all. And Mr. Pernow vehemently disagrees.
yes.
He's gone through his background, his qualifications, and the gentleman that prepared this for Southern New Hampshire Regional Planning Commission is not a traffic PE. So he's not qualified to question Steve Pernow, in my opinion. And the numbers that he used are wrong. We had HTE or Northeast go to the site, conduct their study, review the uses on site. They studied the DES database. There are no instances or occurrences of known spills on site. The well in the existing house, the residential structure on the property, that was tested in April of 2017. That's clean also. So now we have five wells that have been tested within roughly the past year. 3 drilled, 1 monitoring well, and 1 dug well, and they're all clean, 100% clean. So the inference that Mr. Remlark's been polluting the groundwater on site for the last 30 years is wrong, is incorrect. The studies show that it's not true. So we have the HTE Northeast, their proposals to us, but it's also their the summary of their initial study. And again, the cost of this, considering all the costs on site and the reclamation of that area, that to drill the monitoring well by the detention basin and have it tested, we would request that you make that a condition of approval, because we already have tests all over the place. Ask that you amend your prior request. We'll do it, but we don't need to do it now. We already have 5 wells that have been tested in the past year.
But I don't have a problem with drilling a well.
3 of which in the past 2 weeks, and they're all clean.
I personally don't have a problem with drilling a monitoring well by the detention basin. After the construction is done, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
We wouldn't want to drill it today.
but there's no reason to
But the
drill
whole-
it
but we
today.
should have a report. We do not have a hydrologic report.
Well, he hasn't done the hydrologic report yet because he
Right.
hasn't drilled the well. He can't tell.
Well, he can, yeah, he can.
Well, he's outlined it, what they're gonna do.
I've done hydrologic reports, I haven't done them. Sorry. I've had people do them with no monitoring wells in existence, using whatever data they use. Like you were saying, Yawk for so many feet deep, flowing north, all these kind of things. Yes, he can't do a report on what the effect is until the monitoring well is drilled, but he can do a report on the existing conditions right now. And propose the one monitoring well.
Well, I think he's gone through it, and they're a reputable company. And just bond that too.
But are we gonna get a report on the existing conditions? Right now, I have three water supplies, 3 water samples.
Report on what?
Where's the groundwater? Which way is it flowing?
Well,
Why is he gonna put the monitoring well here?
the USGS maps show where it flows.
I know, so HT can write up a report saying all that relatively easily.
Well, our traffic guy stands by his report. He goes through his response in detail.
Can I have-
Where
if I have
Southern
a
Hampshire
copy
planning is
so I can
wrong.
just read it to the- I do not have my copy, and I apologize for that.
I'll send you one tomorrow.
I got one somewhere. I'll find it in the truck something. Basically, Southern Hampshire Planning had 4 comments, I guess. One was the traffic volume data presented in the report was that the Weare New Boston Town line is actually to 114 Goffstown, New Boston Town line. Steve said that they are correct, thank you. The graphs on page 4 have the correct information. Rather than reissuing a 60-page report, he has corrected page 3 and it is attached. Wherever it is. Comment 2 was the no-build traffic volumes presented in the report are derived from an analysis of DOT's seasonal adjustment factors for urban highways Group 4. The subject segment of the 114 in the town of Weare would generally be considered a rural highway Group 2. Mr. Farnell's response is the use of Group 4 factors in the traffic assessment is appropriate as is based on past NHDOT guidance and the site's geographical location within the state. It should be noted that Group 4 factors urban highways are derived from several count stations located throughout the southern tier of the state, including in some rural towns such as Chichester, Lee, Temple, and Ringe. Further, the 2 count stations shown on page 4 are designated Group 4 count locations by the DOT. So they will continue to use Group 4 factors in settings similar to Weare until DOT issues a new directive. Comment 3 was ITE Land Use Code 180 is not an appropriate selection for the following proposed whitetail land uses: motor vehicle equipment sales and service, shoe repair, small shoe repair, Mr. Purnall's response was, we respectfully disagree. According to ITE description for land use code, 180 specialty trade contractor states, quote, is a business primarily involved in providing contract repairs or services to meet industrial or residential needs. This land use includes businesses that provide the following services: plumbing, heating and cooling, machine repair, electrical, mechanical repair, industrial supply, roofing, locksmith, weed and pest control, and cleaning. Further size of the facility is on the order of 2-10 KSF, whatever that means, and most sites have fewer than 20 employees. Regarding the motor vehicle and equipment sales and service, Southern Hampshire planning list of potential land use codes is questionable, LU, whatever. He goes on defending his, I'm not gonna read a long paragraph. Obviously, Mr. Purnall disagrees. His fourth comment was regarding intersection capacity and level of service. Southern Hampshire Planning said analysis considering these factors may result in the southbound Riverdale Road approach at the intersection 114 Riverdale Road degrading from a level of service D to a level of service E under build conditions, which could trigger the need for physical improvement. Mr. Purnall replied to the amended analysis of the intersection operation is not warranted because it's based on our responses to comment 3, which was saying that he was using the wrong traffic counts. A borderline change from one level of service to another is not justification or a mandate for a physical improvement to a study intersection. He goes on, such a change could simply be result in an increased delay of less than a second. Rather, there are guidelines to determine when it may be appropriate to widen Riverdale approach to 114 in an attempt to allay the concerns voiced by Southern Hampshire Planning concerning offsite improvements. Our office has conducted a supplemental minor road approach geometry analysis of Riverdale Road southbound to 114 using an NCHRP guidelines. His conclusion is the traffic impact assessment dated June 26, 2018 has been prepared under my direct supervision and my responsible charge. He's a registered PE, state of New Hampshire, number 5234. Held a certification of professional traffic operations and certifies it in number 399, and certified traffic projection analysis and findings report reflect my best engineering judgment and decades of field experience. If anyone wants to read it.
Chip sent this to us.
Yes. As far as enforcement, that's up to, not up to the planning board, that's up to the police department, as
Yes,
far
it
as
is.
the traffic on the roadway goes. Whether it's a no jake brake sign, or a no right turn sign, or a speed limit sign, it's all the police department.
As long as those signs are put up per order of the selectmen, which
They are,
They
or
are.
they will be.
they will be, and the
Yes.
police are charged with enforcing the
Yes.
orders.
So the upshot of the traffic study is that the additional traffic does not violate any norms and within the capacity of the roads and the intersections to handle.
Does not degrade the intersection, yes.
Does not degrade.
When they do a traffic study, they count the number of vehicles, or they take into account the size of the vehicle? I mean, if you had 24 wheels going by, as opposed to,
Well, most of the traffic studies is based on the peak hour, which is 6:30, somewhere between 6:30 and 8:30. They sit there for that 2 hours and figure out where the peak hour is, maybe it's 3 hours, whatever, to figure out the peak hour.
there's a number of vehicles, right?
And they actually count vehicles, yes.
So I mean,
And they also,
they're kind of impacted by extraordinary large vehicles to this extent, and it could get worse. Because we don't, the trouble that I see with the traffic study, what are you studying? There's 4 buildings going in, nobody knows what's going in those buildings.
exactly what's going in, no, we do not know.
They have a list of proposed uses though,
Yes.
so we know what's not going to be. I mean, it's only we've nailed it down to a specific list.
What Chuck is saying, though, is if some of those uses generate something beyond a pickup truck, either the customer coming in, suppliers coming in. That's different if it's a 18-wheeler versus a pickup truck. And if they're only counting numbers and not looking at the length of the vehicle or
No,
the
yeah,
size.
that's different.
Well, I agree with her that when 43,000 yards is being hauled out here past her house, it's gonna be loud.
Totally different than.
How many
when the
yards in
site's
a truck?
completed.
How many yards in the truck?
12, 18?
20.
18, 20,
Let's see.
how big a truck?
Say 20. Looking at 2,000 trucks, 2,100 trucks.
2,000,
I got 2,150.
2,150 trucks are going to be driving by her.
One more.
Well, full,
Yes.
full, and coming in empty.
Oh, they're coming in empty, it's much better.
Yeah. How long is that? That's gonna be going on.
And how long will this take? Mike, how long do you think it would take to,
I have no idea. It's typical with construction though, in the onset, we've got construction vehicles going by.
Yeah.
Like when they built their house.
I would think that the gravel being sold out of this site would be cheaper than the gravel being sold out of Mount Williams. It's several miles away there. This trucking is gonna be less. So,
Would be, because
you wouldn't assume it?
doesn't need shipping gravel.
What's that?
It's all processed material.
That's true. What he's hauling is gonna be gravel, yeah.
Are we still in public comment?
I will be shortly. As far as the hydrologic report, I think we need a hydrologic report.
Oh, I've asked for it.
We've asked for it twice now. Okay, back to public comment. I assume you're gonna follow up.
So I think what makes sense to me is that the land use hasn't been disclosed. So that's what Nate is trying to say, that what the proposed land use from Whitetail Development is different than what was in the traffic study. Because if Whitetail is proposing to do repair, specialty trade contractors, that generates more traffic, and therefore the traffic study that is in everybody's hands, the data is miscued. It's wrong, it's not accurate. So if Perot wanted to redo his traffic study to impact the traffic generated from a specialty trade contractor and put that into his table, then maybe the data would be different, the trips would be different, the outcome would be different, and the recommendations would be different. Living on the corner, that's my experience. If it's going to be a specialty trade contractor, that's what we have already. That's what we have with Granite State Plumbing, and there's a car going by a minute. So without disclosure, what's going in there, we have the potential for that type of traffic to be generated. And it would be my recommendation that the planning board sort of address that concern and do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir. I saw you jumping up earlier.
Excuse me. Kevin LaFave, 16 Depot Street, a New Boston resident, as representing the town New Boston on the subcommittee planning. My issue's always been with the aquifer. I haven't seen any of the hydrologists, so I mean, I really can't argue with what I don't have in hand as to what the results are. So I just want to make sure that whatever we do protect that water, and that there is, the insurance bond set up in such a way that we protect, if something does happen, God forbid, that we have recourse. On the traffic study, you're saying, or what Mr. Dahlberg has said, is that the person from Southern New Hampshire is basically not qualified to have given an opinion. Is that what I'm understanding? Because he's not a PE. Is that how you're?
I'm not gonna engage, address it to the board.
Okay. So, but he's taking numbers off of charts. He may not be the qualified to put everything together. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. But if, based on what they use a specialty trade contractor, which is 10.22 trips per 1,000 square feet. If they do small engine repair or motor vehicle sales servicing, that gets up into possibly automotive sales service center, 16 trips per 1,000. It changes the number, and that's where we're worried, because we don't know what's exactly going in. That's the concern. Right now, we have a lot of more automotive type stuff over there already. I'm assuming that's what's going to be going back in that area. So that and that. One of the things I was waiting to hear about, and I guess you guys are going to go over it coming up here, is the firefighting protection, whatever's been agreed upon. And I also want to make sure, again, protecting the aquifer, that there is no salt, because we really don't want to, get salt in the aquifer. I'm pretty much at a limit waiting to hear more back. I definitely agree that we need to make sure that the buffer zone is plentiful. We did, as
What do you mean the proper zone?
the buffer zone for the planting.
I thought you said proper. not proper.
Sorry, a little bit of a head cold, I'm still fighting. The other thing is, I just lost my train of thought. Buffer zone. Wow, that one's gone, whatever that was.
Happens to me all the time.
The sure sign I'm getting old.
Can't be that.
God, I had something.
Yeah, you can come back up. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Mark Sunan. I'm a member of the New Boston Planning Board, and so I come again before you to thank you for continuing to recognize this as a project of regional impact. With that said, you've been sending us the minutes from each meeting so that we can discuss them in our own New Boston Planning Board meetings, and we appreciate that. As a further request, I would like to that the traffic study and the responses that you've received both from Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, which we have received as the board, but also what you've received back from Mr. Pernaugh, that you forward those along with the minutes from this meeting. Additionally, we'd also request that you share with us the whatever environmental study, hydraulic study, whatever it is that you do receive from the applicant. Because it is regional impact, that is something that we are interested in, is the traffic that is all along Route 114 coming into and out of New Boston and through New Boston. Additionally, it's the water flow going into the river that flows into and through New Boston. So on a side note, I'd just like to address some of the comments that have been made here about Mr. Pernaugh. I am also a professional traffic engineer. I work, he is a colleague. He is a very skilled traffic engineer. I am not questioning his results. I'm not questioning his data, but I would like to see his results and his conclusions, because some of the conclusions can be subjective. Some of those conclusions can be interpreted, and it is up to the Weare Planning Board to decide if the amount of additional traffic is in fact an impact to the traffic flow in this neighborhood. And whether or not there's a need to mitigate that additional impact. So I'm, as a professional traffic engineer, also working on the planning board, I'm interested in seeing the traffic study and providing the town of New Boston's, let's say, our own interpretation of his same results.
Do you have the original traffic study?
I do not know.
Okay.
So.
Question? Question was raised before about traffic count versus size of
Sure.
vehicle. Could you share with us your profession's handling of this issue?
Certainly. When traffic counts are done, they are typically, now, again, I'm going to talk about typical as opposed to the specifics because I haven't read the actual traffic study. So typically, traffic counts are taken at a location, and they are taken for all vehicles and also taking into account heavy vehicles. So the interpretation of the volume is not just a total number of vehicles, but it is massaged, let's say, to take into account a greater impact that heavy vehicles have than a typical pickup truck. So there are what we call heavy vehicle factors that are interpreted into our analysis that increase the, let's call it the effective traffic flow, adding up the regular cars and pickup trucks and heavier vehicles like dump trucks, buses, that sort of thing.
Further question? Could you share with us some of the things that, in your experience, planning boards have done when they believe that while the roads were capable of handling the volume of traffic, the additional traffic, safely, it would have a negative impact on property values, quality of life, or those things?
Okay, that's really a case-by-case discussion, and it comes down to what the impact is, where the impact is, and what the nature of that impact, what kind of impact it is. So taking into account all of those kind of factors, any number of things could be considered. It could be as simple as that the applicant is required to repave the road for any, knowing that the road has had some impact because of, let's say, a large amount of gravel being trucked off-site. At the completion of that, perhaps repaving the road. It could be something where the capacity is in question, and then it's a widening concern, or it could be something like adding turn lanes on the state road, turning so that there is taking that traffic out of the flow and allowing for easier movement of the the side street movements onto the main roads. It could be something as simple as just having the applicant provide a street light so that the intersection is lit. It could go as far as designing a traffic signal. Now, I'm going to tell you that my personal opinion is this intersection doesn't have the traffic flow to justify a traffic signal, but I would not know that until I read his actual report and conclusions.
Further question? Your comment suggests things that could be done to mitigate safety or cost to the town of repaving and things like this. Are there any situations that you're aware of where the planning board has said no more than X vehicles can exit or enter the property in any particular time period to reduce the number of, in this case, gravel trucks going past a particular point during the course of a day?
I'm going to say I haven't seen where a quantity of vehicles entering the facility can be restricted. However, what I have seen is that a development is approved based on a given traffic study that says that the expected traffic flow into this facility is X. And if traffic flow increases beyond X, then the applicant is responsible for some additional improvements. Can say it's a conditional improvement if there is more traffic than is originally anticipated at the approval stage.
But again, you're really focusing on safety. Can the roads handle that traffic?
Yes.
Rather than the effect of that additional traffic on the people who live along that road. Even if it's safe traffic,
Sure.
It's pretty obnoxious to have a diesel truck going by your living room 1 per minute.
Understood. What you're getting to is quality of life. And certainly quality of life is not something that a traffic impact study generally reviews. That is the purview of the board to decide what is the value of the quality of life and what is the apparent or the perceived impact to that quality of life by the additional traffic or the development or noise, pollution, whatever it might be. So you're not going to find that in a traffic study that says there's a degradation to the quality of life because there's additional traffic. What you're going to see is that there is additional traffic, and that is the board's purview to decide what mitigations are necessary to resolve that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you been emailing minutes or
Yeah.
stuff? Okay, so you can email, you guys still have this report?
I think I already did. Almost everything has been sent to both New Boston and Goffstown.
Can you make sure they get another copy of that?
I will make sure they get another copy of that.
Thank you.
But I will not get in my truck and drive it down there again the way I did last Monday to take these plans down there.
No, I wouldn't do that either. Thank you. Anybody else? I know I didn't call you. I've been kind of busy. I owe you a phone call.
Yep,
Okay.
that's what I was here for.
Okay, I know that. Still got your number written somewhere right there.
You got it, that's what it was here for. That's the only question I had.
I've been kind of busy.
That's the only thing I don't wanna lose track of it.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I'll be back again.
My name's Michael Haas. I live at 2 Depot Street in Weare, which is the intersection that my neighbor Linda referred to as at Riverdale, where Riverdale, River Road, and what becomes Parker Station come together. I just wanted to ask the board two things. One, I wasn't here at the last planning board meeting, but I understand that you asked the Riverdale residents to provide a bullet point list
Yes.
of our concerns and requests and things to go into this plan and not to. I just wanted to confirm that you actually received it.
Yes.
We did.
Okay. I know that you've addressed a lot of the things here, so just wanted to confirm that that's still under consideration. My second question was actually one of the things on the list. Do we know why the traffic study didn't include the intersection where I live?
Because we didn't ask it to be.
And that was, okay, fair enough,
Because
but,
we're saying the truck traffic's gonna go the other way and not go down towards you.
so the ban on, so
If the trucks have to go out to 114, the truck should not be affecting your intersection.
but what about the people that are, say, commuting to that site to and from work every day, or clients? For instance, say there's a business there that I want to patronize. I live at the bottom of a hill. Am I going to have to drive all the way down Parker Station Road and come back up 114? Is it illegal? I mean, basically forbidden for me to go up that way. My point is, I understand that we maybe can enforce that on the actual truck vehicles that are part of the business, but what about the rest of the traffic associated with this business that the traffic study counted or estimates? And I bring this up because the intersection where I live, and I've lodged a complaint about this recently, is already very dangerous, as I think we all know. There's one stop sign that half the cars, I can see it from my office window, half the cars come through don't obey it. And there's really no posted speed limit approaching that intersection from the New Boston side and coming down the hill. People speed, it's already dangerous, and we're talking about now adding traffic for 20-odd businesses drivers who will use that intersection, whether or not it's supposed to be allowed and whether or not the Weare police are there to enforce it. So I would just ask the board to take that into consideration as part of the quality of life issue that Mr. Sunan pointed out, which is your purview to consider once you have all the facts about the traffic study in front of you. And is it all right if I ask Mr. Sunan a question while I'm here?
Ask who?
Mr. Sunan? I'm just curious, how long, in your experience, how long is a traffic study usually conducted? For something
Again,
like this?
Very situational.
Right.
But a 24-hour count is not unusual. We've done traffic studies where we base it on a 2-hour PM, the high point, the highest volume traffic period. So anywhere from 2 hours, 24 hours to, it could be as much as a week if it's a significant development, something like a Walmart.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, that's all I had.
Okay.
Thank you.
Old age doesn't work.
Okay. I saved a place in my book for you, too.
Okay. It's just minor little things. One, in the minutes of last month, it says the applicants were asked to put in a letter, a bullet point. Well, not the applicants. Just correcting your minutes. And Mike just brought up that our bullet points that we did send in to you, we hadn't heard anything. And it was brought about enforcing the rules would be under the purview of the police department, as far as Jake breaks and speeding and this and that. Will this involve getting police department to actually be covering before 7 a.m.? Seeing how right now we don't have 24-hour coverage, so it's just.
We will not be asking to hire another police officer to get more coverage.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to point out in a roundabout way is there's no means of enforcement prior to 7 o'clock.
I understand.
So what?
Is that the case?
I mean, it's state troopers. I guess if we get lucky, they're traveling through.
I thought it was 6 or 5 or something.
lot of them are missing.
But I'm just a curiosity factor, how that would be handled. We would just, obviously we would have to just post any complaints we would have if, I guess that's how it'd be, because it would be
I
nobody
think it
there.
would be the selectmen giving them their marching orders.
Right,
Is the-
that's it. That was what I kinda spaced off for a second. I just wanted to, it came back and it'll go away.
Anybody else like to speak? Hearing none, I will close it for public comment. So Mike, I keep forgetting to bring up the fire department, and then everybody's reminded me. You supposedly have an agreement with the fire board.
We met with the Board of Fire Wardens and said we will provide one of three options for firefighting water supply. We got a response from the chief. He used the wrong construction of buildings, wrong type of construction of buildings. He came up with a number. I've asked him to revise his number to reflect the steel frame building. I've heard nothing. We are gonna probably put a cistern in. We've agreed to that. I don't know how many times I've stated it.
Okay.
And the size of the cistern is determined by the chief?
No, it's determined by the NFPA standards for type of construction and the size of the building. A wood frame structure takes a lot more water to put out than a steel frame structure. So when the chief comes back at 30,000 gallons, I don't think that's a real number. I think it should be quite a bit.
Even though there are four structures?
Yes. If it comes at 30, then it's 30.
What about for the existing two structures?
That includes,
That,
we presented the whole plan.
Do you have any idea where the system would be located?
Yes. It'd be located in the flat area on the common lot line with North Lake Holdings. There's a little triangle area, north of the existing access way. That's more than large enough and flat enough to put a cistern. It
So-
can't be on Riverdale Road, there's not enough site distance. It'd be unsafe.
Okay, so you're talking about basically, if you drove out of the proposed development on unnamed road, it would be straight ahead of you.
Yes, down on the left.
Yes.
It's a great spot for a cistern. Visible, open, easy to clear snow. Flat.
Yeah, parking lot is.
how far is that from the four new buildings?
300 feet north.
That's not a problem for the fire department?
No, there's most cisterns in Egypt, new developments, they carry 2,000 feet of hose on their trucks.
We will obviously need something from them saying about the size of the cistern,
Right.
and something from you saying where it's gonna be, and something from them
I
saying
made
that's okay.
contact with another consultant, a consultant, but like everyone else, vacations, busy, I've yet to get a reply on the sizing. I just wanna have two figures. It's a fairly substantial amount of money.
Yes, it is.
What does a 30,000 gallon cistern cost?
About $2 a gallon. The design is it's in the can, it's cookie cutter. It's really straightforward, especially for soil type like this. It's just the size and, the gallonage that.
Where does the water come from to fill the cistern?
Tank truck.
Not a well?
No,
Not the river?
no.
And how, does that water stay in there until it's used?
It's a double wall fiberglass tank, like a gas tank. Yes. And that's enough, it's close enough to the Riverdale oil mill village that, if there were a fire, that they could hook up to that. Which I think ultimately the fire department is really looking for a reliable firefighting source in the area.
They don't consider the river?
It's not necessarily reliable in the wintertime with ice.
And there are no standpipes?
No, we looked at doing a standpipe, by the bridge, because Gary owns that piece of land too, but that's all ledge bottom in the river right there, it's just not deep enough, never would be. And the fire pond is probably out of question, because the volume that you need to have in a fire pond, guaranteed volume, it's like 3 to 1, so it'd be like 90,000 gallon minimum.
Under the ice.
Pond, it's gigantic.
Yeah, you gotta be under the ice and off the bottom.
Yeah,
and
it's
have
just
30,000 gallons usable,
really
it's
not
really hard to
practical.
do.
Fire pond, Creighton, Texas, not New Hampshire.
Does that cistern water freeze, or it's down deep enough so it
Oh,
doesn't?
the tank's like 14 foot in diameter, and it's 30 or 40 feet long.
No, no.
It's way below frost level.
So would we have to have some kind of a deeded access to get to that thing? To repair it and all that kind of stuff?
To the cistern?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's private. We're not saying it's for the public.
Most of them are controlled by the fire department and owned by the town, which is why they put their repeaters on them,
Yes.
because it becomes town land.
So
But that's something that they could deal with.
what's something we can deal with?
That Mr. Remillard could deal with when it comes time to actually cough up the land for the cistern. With all the rest of the easements that you have to have out there.
So Mike, did you just say you're not gonna let the public use the
No, I
cistern?
didn't say that.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Because the fire
What
department
I said
maintains them.
was that, it's not intended for public use. I'm not saying the public couldn't use it.
Okay. I'm just assuming that once it's built, accepted, working, everything's great, that it's gonna be deeded to the town has to maintain it.
I don't
Maybe
know
that's,
about
maybe
that.
that's a bad assumption.
It's the way the rest of them are.
I would
But
assume,
that's not, but this is for private development, it's not for residential development where there's individual homeowners. They're saying that they need a firefighting water supply because of the size of the buildings and the number of buildings.
my concern is something happens and the cistern quits working for whatever reason. Somebody throws rocks in it, somebody runs into it with a truck, whatever. How is the town gonna be assured that the cistern is still functional 5 years from now? I mean, if you let the
Don't
town,
they test them yearly?
pardon me?
Don't they test them yearly?
I'm not sure we're allowed to all of a sudden if it's a private cistern that we don't have access to.
In my conversations with Chief Vizina, what he is basically looking for is a firefighting supply for that whole neighborhood. So I'm not sure that it's gonna be a private cistern, but that's, you guys can negotiate that.
Well, it'd be nice if the chief told me that.
Yes.
I have as much trouble finding them as you do.
I think from the applicant's perspective and the town's perspective, it'd be better if the town owned it. That way that would be out of the applicant's hands to maintain.
But it's in the middle of private property,
I know.
unlike most cisterns which are adjacent to a public road.
Nah, not really.
No?
They're almost all of them, because they're off the road. So they're on private property, and that
Yeah, they're
little
in the
piece
right of
of, that little piece of land is usually deeded to the town.
Either way, I mean, I think that,
And the fire department maintains them, town guys plow them, somebody plows them.
something to think about. I might shoot an email to Mr. Vizina. If I still have his email address, I will. If I don't, I won't. I'll type in that much, I'll have it. Anything else for this tonight? We need a hydrologic report, we gave a bunch of notes on this.
Can I get some guidance and a direct list from the board, please? Either through the minutes, or draft minutes or something, because, you know, this will be meeting number 6 next month.
Yes. Since this is our secretary's first minutes, it might be a little difficult with the draft minutes, but we can. I think between my notes and draft minutes, we can get him
And
a list.
YouTube.
Greg?
And YouTube.
Can I ask for a little bit of clarification? It's my understanding and recollection that the vote to say that there was regional impact was for the aquifer only. It wasn't for traffic. It was for the aquifer only. Period. That was the motion, and that was what was voted on, was the aquifer. So this whole thing about traffic, I think, has gone too far.
Well, even if it's not just regional impact.
No.
So people can hear you.
No,
They can hear
no,
me.
Not on TV.
we're not.
No, they can't hear him at home if he talks from there. Like,
I do believe it was one of Goffstown Department requests.
Well, Goffstown only has the abutter status. They can't.
Right. I may not have I probably don't have the minutes, but to be honest, it doesn't really matter if the reason for the regional impact was traffic or not. It's still an issue with us, so I'm not too worried about whether we. I'm sure the offer was discussed during the motion and things. Between the notes in my notebook, my scribbles on this plan and the draft minutes, I think I can get some kind of list together for you, yes. There's gonna be several questions like cistern easements and things like that. The big question I have is what's the condo plan gonna look like for 356:B20, whatever. And all the notes that are gonna be on it. Yes, I do understand it's been a long process. And I do owe. Okay. I'll try to get this to you by the middle of the week.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No. Motion?
Motion.
I move that we continue our work on the Whitetail Development application until the August
Getting there. 23rd.
23rd board meeting.
Discussion? All in favor? Oop. You were discussing or you were voting? No, okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Now discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm getting tired, it's only 10 after 9.
Want to take a pit stop?
I need to Mike, Mr. Dahlberg, you said you did not get a copy of the drinking water thing? Did you get a copy of the monitoring well results?
Yeah.
And here's your Steve Turnoff response letter.
All right, we have updated this, condo plan by that time?
Hopefully. Craig, a rather interesting point came up. I thought that when we filed,
Thank you.
when you signed this plan, with all of the notes on it, that was filed in the registry of deeds so that subsequent purchasers.
Site plan. Subdivision, yes.
Why not site plans?
A lot of towns record site plans.
Some do, some don't. It's about 50/50.
It is about 50/50.
We should, because everybody needs to know this. Subsequent purchasers, not just of the condominium, but of the property itself. Condominium should sell it. Also,
If it's condominium, a condominium site plan has to be recorded.
But what happens
Condominium, no.
what happens if in the future, in the next 6 months, we approve it, the next 6 months, there's a dispute, he doesn't do so?
Oh, I betcha.
What's the legal authority to enforce?
Well, it's on record at town hall. It's public record.
Oh, yeah, you can revoke approvals or give a cease and desist.
It has nothing to do with filing it in the,
No. And
That's-
any good title company is gonna contact the town to get a copy of it.
Right, that's in the performance standards, and that's in the, whatever we agree on for work and bonding. If it's not done, either you call the bond or you cease and desist until it's fixed, whatever.
thank you.
The next on the agenda item is a continuation of the lot line adjustments at Thurber House LLC and Winter House LLC.
Not on mine. Says Brian and Sandra Nichols is second.
Don't worry about it. We haven't got a response from Mr. Drescher yet on his question on Thurber House LLC and Winter House LLC.
Oh,
So let's open the hearing for Thurber House LLC and Winter House LLC. And I'll make a motion to continue it for a month till August 23rd, I think it was.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can you see if
Opposed?
get an answer?
Done? We didn't do one. Oh, yes, we will get an answer in a month, yes. Sorry.
It would be nice.
What did you extend?
Thurber.
Oh, yeah, and it's Laura Spector, not Drescher.
Oh, jeez. Don't need nothing Drescher. Next item on the agenda is lot line
Change Drescher
adjustment
to Spector.
for Brian and Sandra Nichols, Mountain School Road and Balch Hill Road, map 410, lot 160 and 165, in the RA zone. And I'll be as blunt as I can be with everybody. I haven't spent any time on the rest of the agenda tonight. All my time was devoted to the other one, so let's look at the checklist, please.
May I ask my question?
If it's about the application only, if it's complete.
Oh.
I'll make a motion to accept the application as complete.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried 4-0. Mr. Norberg, if you would, please.
Yes, I have color copies.
Thank you.
Might make things a little easier for you to understand initially. Sorry for the color, we ran out of ink. So my clients, Brian and Sam Nichols, own two lots, two adjacent lots. Map 410, lots 160 and 165. 160 currently has frontage and access off a Mountain School Road. And it's 4.8 acres, and that's the yellow. Mr. Nichols would like to build his house to the east of that and would like privacy. So what we're proposing is shifting the lot lines, the lot 160 westerly, to have its access off of Balch Hill Road. And that would be the blue area. We've made it 5.1 acres. We've increased it by 0.3 acres. And then in your package, sheet 2, we've did boundary, topo, wetlands, test pits to demonstrate to the board that it's buildable. We have received the septic system approval for the septic and house on lot 165, the 50.9 acre remainder. All the lot corners have been set. We're not disturbing any wetlands. The roadway access points are already in place. It's just a straight up lot line adjustment to provide privacy. A little out of the ordinary, but
Okay, straight up, but a little different.
well, it's a little out of the ordinary, but we start with two lots, we end with two lots.
Could you show us where the original lots are right now? I'm confused because there seems to be a gap between the two.
This is all one lot.
Well, there is.
Say that again?
This is a lot.
The yellow is the lot 160 now. The blue is what 160 would be as a result.
So there are two lots, forget the blue. There are two lots now, the yellow
And the white.
and everything else.
Correct.
It'll be 2 lots later, the blue and everything else.
Correct.
Yellow and
So-
everything else.
So you're doing a lot line adjustment,
This is-
but you haven't got 1 square inch of the existing lot that's gonna be the new lot.
Right, that's why we did, he wants the privacy. If you see the spot, you'd want it to. That's why we did the wetlands, by a wetland scientist. We did the test pits, topography. We can demonstrate to the board that the lot is fully buildable. So
Is this an existing house?
there's nothing on either property.
What is this? I assume it was a house too.
That's the proposed house. That, I created this drawing this morning. Again, we got a software upgrade to AutoCAD
That's a whoops.
18, and that's a whoops.
We're combining 3 lots here, Mike? That's what's happening?
No,
Basically, we're gonna combine 2 lots
this blue isn't,
and
currently isn't there. This blue
we're still gonna have
is
2
the lot
lots.
here.
Yeah, but it's not a lot line
And then this
adjustment.
lot
You're in effect
is here.
eliminating a lot and then creating a
This
second
big
lot.
Well, we have 2 lots now.
They can
That's,
eliminate
no, I
this
understand you
lot.
wind up with
and
two
make
lots,
this
but
lot.
it's not a lot line adjustment. It's basically, you're consolidating 2 lots, 160 the yellow, and everything else,
Yeah.
165. And then, after you've done that, you're subdividing that into 2, and you come up with the blue lot, which you're calling 160, and the remainder, 165.
It's a consolidation of re-subdivision.
Yes, in effect. If the lots touched each other, if the yellow and the blue.
I can make that happen if that makes you feel better. If it gets us approved tonight, I can slide that line over. So we meet the common line. I'll slide the blue easterly, the 75 feet, and hit the yellow. It doesn't matter.
Now, is the intention to build a house on lot 160 or 165?
On 165, he would sell 160.
Got it.
I'll pay for the house on 165. I'll slide that over and make that common lot line.
You're not the only one doing it tonight, don't feel bad.
If he does that, then it's an ordinary lot line adjustment.
Right. As long as there's some land in common, doesn't have to be much.
No, sliding it over is the right thing to do.
This is a new lot. This will become this lot instead of this lot.
We're just gonna flip it.
Yeah, but there's like. No,
know, it's not connected.
They're gonna slide this back lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna slide the line over so it would
Exactly.
just extend this line over.
Yeah. Okay. Move to continue to August 23rd.
Do we have a
Sooner?
Do we have a second?
Well, you want to, there's a work session.
We have a motion on the table.
To do what?
You just made a motion to continue it.
No, but it wasn't seconded, and I'm withdrawing my motion. I want to find out.
Well, I would like,
I don't see an issue, he's over 5 acres.
right, we're not touching any
It
wetlands.
appears the 5.1 acre meets all zoning.
It does, we have
But
more than,
it's not a lot line adjustment. Okay.
I
It will
don't
be.
see an issue with extending, conditionally approving it to do that,
right,
Oh,
and setting these two monuments.
right. It's,
so moved.
Other boards?
Okay, hang on, withdraw your motion.
Withdraw my
First,
motion.
have we heard anything from the other boards?
Yes.
Okay, two,
Assessing.
assessment.
It appears according to the assessors that the acreage amounts are incorrect. If you would just check those before you made a Mylar. It was a comment made to me because they spent all morning the other day doing it.
You showed the second page.
how do I put this?
You don't have to say anything, say yes, you'll check it. I've
I
done the
will,
same
I
thing.
will check it. Let's just say,
That'll
one of the
make-
reference
That'll
plans
make
that
everyone
the
happy.
lot areas were put on the tax cards on was less than accurate. And there was a previous survey by another surveyor in New Boston.
There
That
are,
was
there
right
are
on the
days
money.
that I don't walk around the corner
I'm
of my
not,
desk.
no, I got it.
Yeah,
So,
Anybody from the public have any comment?
except for this yellow.
Hearing none, I'll close the public comment. Now, we have a motion, maybe.
Move to approve, subject to moving the,
Normally lot line,
where's north here?
straight this way.
I
It's
don't
not
see
on
it.
there, but it's on the next page. No, it goes right there.
Okay, moving the northerly boundary so that it is contiguous with the southern boundary of lot 160, the current lot 160.
We're combining this with this? This is not.
And set the two monuments.
I'm sorry?
That
And
one's
set
gonna
the
become
two
this lot.
And
monuments.
set the two additional monuments.
Right.
That'll be separate. So we had two lots, we ended up with two lots. There's really not a lot line adjustment.
It will be if we move this over here a little bit, so we've got something in common with it anyway. Which is reasonable.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Now we can have discussion. Okay,
You're discussing it in length already.
I know. Okay, hearing no more further discussion at length. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a lot line adjustment for Barbara and David Hibbard, Gold Road,
Do we have paper on that?
lot 109,
Yep, I got it.
map
I got it.
109, lot 1, 5, and 6.
Do we have a large plan of that, Chip? The small one's difficult to read.
We have lunch,
I have some. Okay.
and I brought a magnifying glass.
They all went out to the departments. And the departments didn't send them back, although I do think I might have.
Thank you.
First, we're gonna go through the application, make sure it's complete.
No,
That's the wrong application.
Is that this one?
No, it might be that one down there. Nope. Yeah, there you go. I found you. I thought Sid might go.
That's why you keep me around.
I knew there was a reason, I can never figure out what it was, though.
Just letting you guys know. I took a walk out there last week with a couple members of the ZBA, because the rest of them were variance to something else. So I did a little site walk out there.
You went home early.
I didn't go home. Ready for a motion on the application?
Well, we have a bunch of waivers, it looks like. Nothing against them, I just see a bunch of waivers.
Yeah, probably, hopefully.
I think number 11 should be, number 4 should certainly be checked, number 11 should be checked. I think number 12 should be checked, frontage.
A lot of information on this.
Yes, there is. Yes. So topo, wetlands, soil types. I'll go along with the waivers with, there should be a note saying it's not in the wetland, the flood hazard, but I don't see the note. I'm 99% sure it's not. So I'll make a motion for a waiver from topography, wetlands, soil types.
And the request to 30 pages back.
Sorry. My bad. Here.
Hold on, here. Page 51. Wildlife impact study, environmental.
Oh, yeah, we don't need that, that's, we don't need to waive that yet. That'd be after we accept it, if we decide we want them. That's information we can request later. So I make a motion for topo, wetlands, and soil types.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
This is the motion is to waive the requirement that
Yes.
these be required.
Yes. Neil seconded. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Or nothing. I should probably make the motion to accept the application as complete since I did the last one, right?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay? Abstain? The check vote?
Yeah.
It passed.
An aye.
Aye.
Right?
Yes. Motion carried, 4-0. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Dennis McKenney. I'm the land surveyor, working with Mr. and Mrs. Hibbard for what's basically a lot line adjustment. They have 3 adjoining tracts of land on the corner of Route 114 and Gould Road. One parcel, tax ID 109-1, is presently a very small parcel that was at one time owned by the town of Weare. I understand that many years ago, the town's salt shed was in this location. That's long gone. Many years after that, excavation occurred in the area which obliterated or destroyed some of the property corner bounds that are off the edge of the road there. So you'll see dashed lines that represent at least what the deed described as the size of the property. The large parcel 1095 is the 18-plus acre parcel on which the Hibbards presently reside. What they would like to do is basically rearrange the lot line between 109-1 such that it adds land from map 109-5 to the small tract.
Could you tell me where 109-1 is? I'm sorry, I see 5 and I see 6.
Yellow.
The present configuration of 109-1 is shown in yellow on the plans that you have in front of you. And the proposed adjusted configuration of 109-1 is outlined in green. It is somewhat unusual in that there's an in-holding in there, which is like the hole in the donut, a lot which was created many years ago, prior to probably the existence of the town planning board, that's identified as 109-2. So the proposed 109-1 would totally encircle 109-2. And it's just quite unusual situation, but it's and it's an existing lot on which people reside.
Who owns 109-3?
Where the hell's 109-3?
It's a little cemetery.
This is,
Well, the town identifies, it's identified in the town hall as being owned by the town, I'm not quite sure I agree with that. And I've inquired of the town if they have a deed to it. I've not been able to find one. It's a cemetery, there are headstones there, that is reserved from the Hibbard's deed. And if you research the deeds prior to the Hibbard's ownership, it says the same thing in each deed, reserving the rights to the cemetery. I've actually got one from which the language comes, same language basically, from 1859. So it's likely owned by the heirs of somebody somewhere. But it is indeed a cemetery, and it's identified as such on the plan.
And why do you include it as part, well, do you include it as part of lot 109, lot 2?
No, it's a standalone, it's identified on here and shown as a standalone parcel.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's not there, but-
So,
But you don't have varying distances the whole way around it.
No, I don't. It's certainly easy enough to put those on there. 3 of the 4 corners of the cemetery are monumented, presently monumented. The 4th is not. I have not seen any description that gives metes and bounds for the cemetery. The lines depicted on there are based on what appears to be the historic limits of the cemetery.
As far as we know, it's always been set on the deed.
so let me try to understand what's there today, okay?
I think I got it.
We've got lot 6, the little triangular piece adjacent to South Stark Highway.
Correct.
We've got lot 5, which is basically the entire tract.
Correct.
We've got lot 3, which is the cemetery.
Correct.
We've got lot 1, which is in yellow, and it seems bizarre, but there it is. And there is no lot 4?
There may indeed be a lot 4. It's not owned by the Hibbards.
Yeah, right here.
It's the John Carson's property.
Lot 4, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And concerning the cemetery, in the deed that we have, it says that there is a cemetery there, and it says the people have the right to go from the highway to the cemetery.
Behind the pit, lot 2, right down the street
Now,
from this.
let's talk about lot 2. Existing lot 2,
Yes.
owned by Marjorie and Wayne Loverin. Does that have access to, does that have any road frontage?
No, it does not.
How did is there anything on that lot?
Yes, there's a residence on the lot,
And how
occupied
do the
residence.
folks get in and out of their house?
The narrow neck of land that is just to the east side of the cemetery that comes down to Gould Road, they have a driveway to
But
their
the
property.
Hibbards own that.
Yes,
It's a right of
yes,
way.
They have a right-of-way over the Hibbards' property.
yes,
Okay, so this is landlocked.
yes, it is.
And the proposal is to eliminate 1091 and put a halter around 1092. Is that correct?
We're not eliminating 1091. We're simply rearranging its lot lines.
Just like Mike just did.
And who will own the halter?
That would be presently owned by the Hibbards, but just as they presently have a separate tract known as 1091 now, which could be sold, they would, if they chose to, they'd be able to sell 109-1. Actually, any of the 3 tracts that they own could be sold. They're standalone tracts of land.
It's so bizarre that there's got to be more to this story. Can you help us out? Because logically, it doesn't make any sense to do this unless the Loverings want to expand their holding and buy that, and they're going to buy the new 1091 from the Hibbards, and then have a lot line adjustment consolidating.
Theoretically, that's possible. But it's also possible to simply rearrange the lot lines as proposed here, and you could end up with a potential building envelope with the rearranged lot lines.
So we're now going to, 109-1 being probably pretty small for a house.
Yes, I don't think it's a
Buildable
lot. What we are essentially doing is taking a presently non-conforming lot and enlarging it such that it
Yes.
could be
That's why the zoning board was out there.
built on or developed in
But
some
if they
way.
wanted to
It's
do
also
that,
so
I mean,
We can't destroy it, so.
they could expand 109 easterly till it hit the westerly bound of Lovering, and then go up northerly till the green line that you have there. And in other words, if they wanted to do this, they could get the frontage they need on Gould Road, and the lot would be here. Is there some reason for doing this? This is
There's the northern end of the proposed arrangement in green is very level and flat.
this,
Yes, essentially where
and
you're
this
pointing.
isn't.
Well, there's ample area across 109.5 that's buildable.
Here, it's all real steep right here. There's a field up here.
Yep.
This is all field. This is all field up here. But there's the road up to here, there's a steep slope to get up here.
Come for coffee, Neil. Come for coffee, look at it.
Can I help a little bit?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't understand why, but if they wanna
First
do it, it's
thing
not ours
is,
to figure out why,
lot number
really.
one cannot be built on by the deed itself. When we get the property, it's all shit back from the land. No wells, no nothing.
There's a covenant on the
There
deed.
was a covenant on that deed when we got, so you can't build.
That should be
In that
noted on
little
the plan,
area.
please.
The rest of it is, we're downsizing.
yeah.
This is a downsizing thing. And if you look at the property between Carson's, which is the lot right next
Yep.
to ours, and Lovering's, okay, there's a right of way that we had in there. So people could get up in the field to mow and hay, okay? So all I'm doing is changing this such that we can put a residence up there. If you put a residence up there, this is all commercial land. You cannot build, okay, enough is that, right? We gotta go to.
The whole
res-
property is commercial?
Yes, that's the unfortunate thing.
Put a house on the corner, it's gonna get a
And across the street, everything is agricultural.
Industrial with it, can't put it all.
But so if you're gonna put your house there, you're gonna have to get a variance.
Right.
Right.
Okay,
This is the
understood.
process.
But why wouldn't you, instead of making this sort of a U-shaped lot, why wouldn't you just move this whole thing over and make it?
Because there's a hill there, there's
It's too steep. This is very steep.
This is
right
the-
here.
This is right up into, this was the foot of the hill.
Like, right in here.
All right, this is the
across
foot of
here.
the hill, a piece of land. This is Lovering's, right? And this is the lot that we want to build on. We want to build up into here, right into here, right into here.
And this is a big enough lot to build on
It'll be 2 acres.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be 2 acres.
in a commercial zone?
Well,
Well, it's,
we gotta
that's why
make
we
the
need a lot loan
property
adjustment.
residential before you put, 30 years ago, we could have built on a little bit of.
We're
property.
taxed on residential.
You're taxed on residential?
Yes,
Yes.
because it was zoned commercial after the zoning came, after they had the zoning board came in.
That was
That's
about
when we-
in 88.
And we've been there for, what, 43 years.
By the way, traffic bug, in the morning when I drove to Raytheon, I wouldn't even see a car
This is
until I
right
got
away,
to
if it was up
101.
here.
Yeah, well, things have changed. We know,
Things have changed.
we know
I hear
that.
these people talking, little do they know.
Anyway, this, yeah, and this, we plan on building
Now
right
there's
into there.
And where's your
15,000
driveway here?
cars go by
And
our
the
house
driveway will
every day.
probably, we can use that for driveway, yes, right now. We could use that, and eventually we probably will put a driveway coming up here. put electricity, well, hopefully we can put, wait a minute, the salt shelf's there, over here. It'll go up that way. If you want all that.
Bob, that green line's halfway up the hill.
I know.
The,
Oh, that's right, it is, yeah.
Is there some reason why you just don't divide this in half and have this whole thing
yeah.
as one
This
lot?
little one-
I-
well, it's-
If you ran the green lines to the northerly boundary of the property,
I only want
can
two
I,
acres.
can I come up here?
Yeah, we only want
Please,
2
yes,
acres.
please.
If you extend these green lines
Yep.
to the boundary here, you create a lot here that doesn't have enough frontage on the highway. So that's a problem.
You get, from
We
the
have,
house,
we have plenty of acreage here, but we lack the necessary frontage to create a lot. And we run into issues related to current use as well.
Well, that's over 50 feet, right?
Uh,
The scale's over 50 feet anyway.
Okay, all right.
For 18-acre lot, it's all you need.
But the other part of the issue is it creates a current use penalty problem.
Could you explain?
Well,
Whoever stays in the same ownership.
all that land's in current use. We gotta
Okay.
take it out of current use, we gotta get a residential before we put a house on.
And you're gonna have to pay something for that.
Yes,
Yes, we get this, yes,
10% of the value of whatever.
right. And and
all we wanna do is downsize, build
No,
a
no,
house
I-
on 2 acres of land,
Yeah,
I got
on
it.
our own property.
and you need,
That's all
and
we
you need 200 feet of frontage, so to get that 200 feet of frontage and 2 acres, that's the configuration that you end up with.
I've got a couple questions. That stone wall is in front of the cemetery.
yes.
Are you sure that's not the right-of-way line?
My interpretation of the reservation in the Hibbard's deed and prior deeds, the language basically says, we're conveying the property to the Hibbards, subject to the reservation of the cemetery and the right to go back and forth to the cemetery. If the cemetery had frontage on the public highway, they wouldn't need to reserve the right of access across their land to get to it. We know that that Gould Road has been expanded over the years. So it's, the present edge of the traveled way is closer to that wall than it was 100 years ago, or at the time when the road was created or the cemetery reserved. So my interpretation is that the cemetery does not have frontage on the highway.
What we're doing is we're selling our house to our grandchildren, to
Yep.
keep it in the family. And what we wanna do is build up in the field and
So-
keep it in, as I said, keep it in the family.
So what you're gonna be selling to the children and grandchildren is your current place, plus this little strip back here connecting this piece.
No, the little
This makes it
strip will-
continuous,
yes.
yes. Okay, contiguous.
Is the easement to Lovering defined by width, varying distances, meets and bounds, things like that?
I'd have to, I can't answer that specifically. I'd have to refer back to the deed.
In their deed, it says that they have a right of way across that land now.
Yeah, does it say 20 feet wide, does it say 10 feet wide, does it say 1,000 feet wide, does it say?
We made the road, I think it's 60 feet wide, the strip of land, and up to there, they got a driveway with it.
I care about what the deed says, I don't care about the
There's a
certain.
fire engine can go up there, ambulance has gone up there.
Are you going, or able to put varying distances around the three sides of what, the cemetery?
I can
So,
do that.
so can,
I can do that.
so that lot one is defined?
I can do that.
I mean, proposed lot one, right now we don't have varying distances the whole way around.
Right. I'm looking for the Lovering map for your benefit.
the next question is gonna be, would it be at all possible to make that stone wall the edge of the right of way?
Well,
Move it.
I don't know that any of us have the authority to do that. There's very little along that stretch of Gould Road to,
The reason I ask is, after walking out there, I mean, that stone wall is right at the edge of the cut right there.
yeah, but it also angles back away from the
Yeah,
road.
I see that, but that cut, this cut pretty much follows the stone wall, so I mean, that's essentially the town's maintaining that whole strip anyway, because it's a road cut right there. It's a slope.
Well, they moved the,
I know, when they redid Gould Road there
they
in
knocked it down.
the mid-eighties, right, right.
And they rebuilt it, they just put a few stones up there and took the rest home somewhere.
That's a non-buildable lot.
No, there's a trailer in there, the watering's over there, there's a mobile home in there. They go, no, they have no frontage, right, this is up here. They have an easement across this piece here.
I think so, then they say, how
Chuck.
it is.
Chuck, there's a chase built, buried up there. There were 3 headstones at one time. There's only one left,
Okay.
and the other 2 were slate. Somebody stole them, but it's a chase that was built up there. It's buried up there.
1950s,
An old family.
kids.
And I assume on that current lot 1, there's a no building restriction on there? You said there's a no building restriction
There's
covenant?
no covenant on the deed, no building.
There is a deed that I've noted on here that speaks about covenants. And my recollection also is that, I may have a copy in the file here, but there was also a prohibition against further excavation or some commercial gravel activity on there. or
And that was on a deed that the town provided, that was a deed from the town, right?
The deed to the Hibbards was from the town of Weare, and it referenced these restrictions and covenants associated with 1091.
I'm not sure what the proper thing to do here is, but normally, the planning board doesn't get into covenants and things like that, it's a private matter. But when the town put the covenants on, the restrictions on, then maybe we ought to have
somebody building on it.
yeah. And the gravel removal, and maybe,
Well, it is references.
The only thing that would go
He
on, that
references
would
the
be a
book and page where
driveway.
the covenants are.
yeah, but if he's gonna if those lot lines are gonna go away, those covenants will only apply to that old lot.
No, this plan's on record saying it right there where the covenants apply.
Mr. McKinney, how can you eliminate the lines on lot 1 because the restrictions don't get eliminated? Don't they continue to?
They would run with the land associated with the deed that created the parcel, from which was about 1951. They're not going to expand over the balance of the property.
But don't you need the lines that you have dotted to stay in existence so that the right or the restrictions,
No, it'll be restricted.
where the restrictions are will be known?
Just the restrictions we, on part of lot 5 as shown on this plan. It's at the registry of deeds.
I disagree with you respectfully.
I'm not suggesting it, I don't know.
Right.
How does the town, how does anybody determine where you cannot do certain things?
This plan.
The deed that created 109-1 has directions and distances on it, and refers to iron pins or pipes in the ground, several of which I found, 2 of which away from the road, as I said, I have not found. I think they disappeared in a dump truck in the past. But you could recreate those lines, and that would be the limit of any restrictions on that use of that property there.
Okay,
Just use the dash lines right in
but would
there.
it be proper to put those bearings and distances on this plan?
Yes, I just wrote that down on my,
If the,
yes, we
if
should,
they're in
we
the
should have bearing distance around the existing lot one, so it's defined.
Neil, would
For
you like to
future
hear a
reference.
little more history about that?
No.
The boss just told
It
you.
was a salt shed, okay, down there, and the back wall.
Apparently he
was
doesn't
about
listen,
as
Barbara.
high as this ceiling, and it was about as wide as this, okay? And one time, our neighbor called us, it happened to be a Saturday morning, and she said, 2 motorcyclists just went right off the wall. They came down the trail, and instead of going up the highway, they turned and came right off 12 feet of wall, cement concrete wall. So I called up Brown, and he came down and knocked down that wall and graded it, okay, so.
And that piece of property is right next to Gould Road. Where we're gonna build is not even close to it.
No, I understand that. You're building way back.
But Ed, and I think it's only 65 feet deep and like 125 feet long, but it's octagonal. They drove the trucks up behind it and dumped the salt into the top of it.
I have the 1988 deed that, of declaration of covenants and restrictions here. The town intends to convey the parcels subject to these restrictions, preventing the use of the parcel for the extraction of earth products, sand, gravel, earth, loam, construction aggregates. And you can't use the parcel to store sand and gravel. You can't mine it or process minerals, and the enforcement of these covenants shall be by proceedings at law. I read through it quickly here, but I don't see a restriction against any building on it. So it basically says you can't take dirt from it to use for construction or store materials there in the process of constructing things elsewhere.
Hey, this was the days when we had 3 selectmen.
Yeah.
So you can define that deed with meets and bounds also?
Yes, that's possible.
So then there'll be a permanent record where the restrictions and covenants sit on the earth.
I can add a
for
note
this.
that ties just that area to these restrictive covenants so that the
Well,
deed.
you already have a map.
Right,
9 lot 1,
yeah.
former salt shed are subject to restrictions, covenants, meets and bounds around it, then it can be
You just have to add those two.
recreated easier. So what's up with the note number 10, gravel access road from Gould Road across lot 100 into Hibbard land in this area? Is there a deeded access or?
There's a recorded plan for the Knox Family Revocable Trust. The plan was actually done back in the 70s, only recorded recently. And that plan shows a access that benefits the Hibbard property that crosses that little narrow neck of what the Knox family owns.
That was so the trucks could get in there and dump them, some load over the.
Well, that could be, but do you have rights to use it, or does,
Yeah.
or you,
Yeah, we've used it for 42 years, so.
what, not really
We
explain that
don't
first
own it, but we
possession?
use it.
That doesn't, that
It
explains
was
part
a
of that
use,
possession.
it was a use that was memorialized on the abutters survey, and it showed that it benefited the Hibbard property.
We need to show it on this as well, not just an arrow saying there.
We don't have to use that though. We don't have to use
If
it.
you're gonna claim the rights to it, it should be shown on this map.
We don't have to use it. We
I understand you don't have to, but
Yeah, but the only reason we used it was down below where the salt shed was, where the entrance to the salt shed. There was a little drug problem going on down there, so where they transferred drugs, so I put up a fence. And then we went in the other direction, we saved it.
all I'm saying, see note 10 says gravel access road from Gould Road to map. Across this for your land. If it's gonna be, it should be shown.
I can show the road. I mean,
Yeah,
I've
that's all I'm
located
saying,
it.
just- Right now, there's an arrow pointing to a line. So are you going to define the line between lot 6 and lot 5? Or are you gonna merge 6 and 5? Right now, I don't have lot 5 defined.
The only missing meets and bounds on, I'm sorry, are you talking about between 5 and 6?
Yes.
Okay. I can put, information about that arc on there that's the internal deed line, if you'd like.
A separate lot of record, right?
Yes, it is, yeah, yeah.
Either that or you're merging lots, or you're planning on merging lots 6 and 5.
There's no proposal to
Okay,
merge 6 and 5.
so we need that line between 6 and 5.
Okay.
We have to go around 5 and 5 and 1 need to be defined as they sit, and 5 and 1 need to be defined the way they're gonna be. It'd be really good to have a tie from something on the cemetery or something on Loverings to a corner of lot, proposed lot 1, so it's not just floating in space.
Okay, ice cream stand.
You know what I mean?
I don't.
Right now, you have lot 2 and 3. That could be 30 feet away from lot 4, it could be 10 feet away from lot 4. We don't, some kind of tie distance to tie them down. Just some kind of, or parallel? Some kind of tie distance to tie this thing down.
Well, we have,
I mean, there's no map to get from here to here.
okay, I can, as I've said, I can put meets and bounds on the,
We don't need it here, just here. Need them around lot 4 or 5, I mean, or whatever. Now I got confused.
okay, I see what you're saying.
Around lot 1, so we need them
Right,
there.
yeah.
But you gotta tie this down, otherwise it's just,
How do you get to it? Where's the starting?
where
point?
is it?
Well, it is tied down in the sense that there are monuments there, so once I put a meets and
If
bounds.
I'm writing a deed, I'm gonna say accepting and reserving lot 3 and lot 2 as shown on the plan, where are lot 3?
Well, I'll put meets and bounds around the 4 sides that are shown on
I wanna tie to a corner. Bank, or something.
there. Well, this will give you a tie between 2 known points.
I need a tie from this property to this property. From this property line to this property line.
Okay.
I mean, you got. Or maybe an extra line, sorry. Basically. You got that. If I'm writing a deed, I'm gonna say lot. Lot 1 starts here, goes whatever the area distance is, containing 2 acres except and reserving. Where's your beginning from? Beginning of the drill hole on the stone wall that is located in the middle of lot 1, then you go around it. I don't know how you write the description of where this is in relation to this. unless you do a tie to.
The easiest way to convey the property is simply by reference to the plan and the lot number.
Oh, I don't disagree with you at all, but a lawyer's not gonna do that, you know that. 99% of the time there's a deed written, I have to go, the plan recorder, I still have to read the legal description. Why in your lot line adjustment data table is lot 6 different before and after?
Because the property has now been surveyed, whereas before it wasn't.
Oh, okay. TM is tax map area.
Right.
So it was.
The tax map is close, but by virtue of the survey, there was a 1.3 acres.
These small lots are taken out to the third decimal place in acres now.
More taxes for the town.
Map 6 is in a butter, shouldn't even be on there, right?
Lot 6.
Lot 6 is not even part of the application.
109-6?
Yes.
Right, but it is a property, I have shown the entirety of the Hibbert's property,
Right,
the
yeah.
3 properties, that's why it's on here.
Looking at this table, most people would think lot 6 got 0.05 acres bigger.
It didn't, it got surveyed. It got surveyed.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Tax map's wrong. Yeah, but most people think it got bigger.
Is there a suggestion in there or a requirement?
I don't know. I've never shown areas by tax map. When I surveyed it, I've never shown the tax map acreage. I've shown the areas I got by survey.
Well, I have qualified it as to
Yeah, I see that. Once you look at it close enough.
So another surveyor figured it out, so it must be okay.
And one other little thing, just, I think what this is it's a piece of your building setback line that didn't get taken off. Partway up that easement that Loverings use.
Okay,
Goes right through the O of C note.
yes. That's the 50-foot setback line.
Yeah. I think you can just, that little piece right there, because it's not wide enough to build on there.
Okay.
It's just kind of confusing having it there.
Could you explain lot 5? At one point it says tract 2 is .02 acres. Another point it says tract 2 is 18.4 acres. What am I missing on that?
Show me what you're pointing to, please.
Over here, lot 5, 18.4 acres. Over here, lot 5, .02, tract 2 again, .02 acres.
That's reasonable.
That's a mistake.
Oh, it's the same thing as this. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
The joy of cut and paste.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Didn't do that back in hand drafting days, did they?
It would have been on there in the drafting days.
Right.
About those, on that effectively new lot, what about the 2 monuments on Blue Road there? nothing there, nothing in the bird's mouth.
There's a granite bound in one of them.
Yeah, but either side of the middle,
Oh, in the middle, yes, there's a
Yeah.
granite bound there. But the ankle points along,
yeah. On either side of that 105.88
yes.
measurement system.
Oh, okay, so the angle point along the road?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you want that point monumented?
Yes.
Okay.
I think two of them are missing, right?
The other one's 10 feet off, that's good enough.
Right.
We got a tie to
You
it.
got a tie there, yeah.
We ready to act on this? Or do we need to see another plat?
Have you gotten applied for state subdivision approval, or done test pits on this lot?
I don't believe we need state subdivision approval because we're simply rearranging lot lines for an existing lot.
No, I think you need to show a 4K area and make sure it's capable of a septic.
Well,
Well,
When you go to,
I mean, the receiving, any receiving area that was there in lot one is certainly not the same lot one anymore.
when you go to design a septic system on there, submit septic to build a house, they're gonna ask for subdivision approval. Because a lot was not there.
Pre-71 or whatever it is.
okay.
It would be very embarrassing to find out it was non-buildable.
No, I'm sure it's buildable, it's just,
Okay.
Well, the way the state's changed a lot, though, it's gonna be, 2 acres should be all right.
That's a requirement, 2 acres and 200 foot of frontage, you have it.
So you're asking for DES subdivision approval, the 75-foot well radius and the 4K area?
No, yeah, they'll require that.
Yeah, okay.
But what does that mean?
Just gotta draw a circle.
Yes, and we have to dig a test
And you
pit,
gotta dig a hole,
yeah.
and you gotta file with DES and pay the 300 and
Drove
something
that
dollars.
stake in, it's sand and gravel, just like next door when they hauled away gravel for 2 years.
Is this in the Aquifer Protection District? No, you said that? Should be in the plan, say if he is or not. Probably.
Don't know if he is or not. Well,
if that is or not.
I thought it was across the street.
Yeah, I don't know that it goes up that far.
I don't know either. Chip has a map for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the question was, is it in the Aquifer Protection
Yes,
District?
I know across the street is, across 114 is.
So Chip has the answer to that.
Not here though, it's in his
Oh,
office.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Yeah.
What if it is?
just a note in the plan.
Okay.
We're trying to protect it down where it's really low, that's the industrial park.
Yeah.
You're gonna bother me up here? Come on,
No,
man.
No, I'm not gonna bother you, just type a couple words. And it probably is because the salt shed was there. It probably wasn't because of that.
So now what do we do? What do we do now?
Dig a hole.
I think he's got a bunch of work to do and come back in 2 weeks, probably, you get
We
done
have
in
to
2
come
weeks?
back. Do we go to the ZBA, the zoning board? We have an appointment with them August 7th.
That's what I wondered, 2 weeks, can you get it done in 2 weeks?
We don't need before August 7th.
Your next, what is the date of your next meeting?
9th,
I can have this done by then, yeah.
and you don't have to,
Yeah, but isn't.
Well, I wouldn't have
you probably won't have DES.
DES back.
Oh, we can,
We
fine
we
with
can
that.
condition
Yeah.
that.
You could possibly ask the zoning board either to continue it for a month or conditionally approve it contingent upon subdivision and planning approval,
Okay,
which would save him from having to come back.
yeah. So, just to circle back and make sure I understand what we're looking for here. We've identified a correction on the plan relative to the acreage for map, or for lot 5. We're gonna delete a short section of the setback line on that sort of 40-foot wide strip east of the cemetery. Monuments along the angle points at the roadside line.
Yep.
DES subdivision, well radius, perk test, septic 4K area. I will check the Lovering deed to see if it has any specific language about right-of-way to the property in terms of width or meets and bounds. Meets and bounds at the cemetery, and there's a request for a tie line from at least one of those corners to some other known corner
Yes.
nearby. We've identified the covenants and restrictions on the salt shed, but we're gonna show the meets and bounds for the original footprint of the salt shed tract. We're gonna show the Woods Road benefiting the Hibbard property that goes through the little neck of the Knox property there. And the last thing I have is the arc dividing map, or lot 5 and 6 that's shown as an internal deed line. I'll just put the math on there for that particular line.
And check the aquifer protection.
Yes, okay.
And then make that a solid line when we get a dash line now.
On the internal, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Everything I have scribbled on here you covered.
Me too.
I think everybody's safe.
Okay.
We probably want to bound at the, which corner is it? The corner of the salt shed lot, frontage? That's a better way of putting it.
Oh, at the end of the 21
Yes.
foot line, okay. Okay.
When they dig a hole for, what's the hole gonna be dug for?
To demonstrate to the satisfaction of the Department of Environmental Services that it can support a on-site septic system.
And you can use it later.
Perk test.
You can use it later for your septic design.
Perk test.
And you can use it later for your septic design for the state. If it's in the place. Is there a motion I heard?
That's all gravel, that's all gravel because the gravel was sold out of that, part of that land down there to the town. And the Wilsons were there for taxes.
Not much soil.
It's all very good gravel. I mean,
We'll get it done.
we'll get it done. And I dug in that gravel for 2 horses. She,
We don't need to know about the dead horse. No.
And Jimmy Hoffa.
We can stop that.
No. He required concrete.
Oh,
So does this mean we have to come back?
Yes.
We do have to come back?
Well, you don't have to, he does.
In 2 weeks.
You don't want me?
but it's basically some housekeeping things,
Yes.
really.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we do go to the zoning board too, the
Yes,
7th.
yes.
We do. What do we present then?
what you've already submitted and say that
Make a motion, Bruce?
you have two
Make a motion to
recommendations.
continue
You can
this
either
till
ask them
August
to
9th.
postpone you for a month,
Second.
or you can ask them to conditionally
Discussion?
approve
All in favor?
your
Aye.
variance to
Aye.
build conditioned
Opposed?
upon the approval of
Abstained?
this. So
Motion
that
passed
means you
1-0.
come back here for this, and if it's approved, then the zoning board approves.
So with her test, it costs more money, right? You gotta get more money.
You have to do that anyway,
Yeah.
but it's,
You gotta do the test pit and the perk test for your septic design before you build your house anyway. But there is also a $300 application fee, but to the
Yeah.
state, but, yeah.
yeah.
Times two. But you'd have to do that anyway.
No, times one.
One for the subdivision and one for the septic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, later on,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, later on will be another one.
Pay me now, pay me again
Put
later.
the house in
Yeah.
for Christmas,
On Goldberg, you do.
Thank you.
you wanna go.
Thank you.
Oh,
So,
all right.
the headline, we had 3 opening acts.
You wear them down?
Last but not least is lot line adjustment corrective plan for
You
Timothy
make
Farmer.
another appointment, right?
For what?
You
We're
make
all
for
set.
the next month to come back.
No, you
Already
just
done.
come back.
That's done.
But we don't come back?
We did it,
You-
no, you have an appointment.
We do have an appointment.
Yep.
Yeah, you
2
just,
weeks.
just come back.
You get a list.
Okay. I can't wait.
Thank you.
2 weeks,
Thank you.
Good
Night-
night. Good
night,
night.
folks.
Thank you.
and we're not gonna tell you.
Good luck.
I'm not gonna call you up and tell you to come.
Oh,
Walk right in.
is that other thing gonna be before too?
No.
Oh, thank God. Oh.
Thank God it's right.
Yes. Mr. Siciliano.
Just sign this plan, please. Anyway, do you have big ones so they can see it?
Oh, maybe.
You don't have it. Those are plans.
I know what it is, but I don't have to play with it.
They all got given out. The big plans go to the other boards to make comments.
Guess I should bring some.
Oh, that's a little one.
No, we don't want to, yeah, we can't argue.
I don't know. You don't have any.
I've seen it.
Well, I mean, what do you want?
You got a little one.
I've seen it.
Application.
You should have had a little one attached to that. It came in your pile of stuff. Let me see what you got here.
I don't have it
How
either.
come?
Is that what you want to do?
Oh, well.
I'll sort of the
Talk to
area.
me tomorrow. I've had enough for today.
Thanks, Art.
So this was, where is this?
No, this was, he's been here a couple times before for this one.
Well, yeah.
This is the easement
So this
we're
is-
talking about.
This is off of Waterman, it's New Misty Lane, which was approved a couple of months ago. And one of the abutters wanted the easement, Misty Lane, to go down in front of his property. So we extended Misty Lane, whatever my distance is there, 39.
That's what this little is here?
35.98, before it stopped at the property line here.
Okay.
And we just 10-foot strip, 35.98 feet longer. So that's all that plan says. We're amending it, amending Misty Lane to be a little bit longer. In my note.
What's the note?
Just an amendment to the previous plan, any previous plans we have on record.
Ignore all the other ones. This is it.
We had a plan, we had to correct the plan, now we're amending the plan
So we can do a deed.
so that a deed can be done, yes, for Misty Lane. To all the appropriate people that need it.
So is that essentially an easement?
It's an easement, yes.
It's part of the shared driveway agreement with
It's a shared driveway, yeah.
Right.
Farmer Chase.
Yes. And they have the deeds drawn up each, or well, no, they're gonna amend it. I guess they gotta amend it. They had it drawn up and
I think they discovered that
Steve Chase didn't have,
Chase,
it didn't
Chase
come
didn't
down.
have an easement to get to
It
his
didn't.
land.
Well, he had it, but now that the lines were changed, it affected his access to it a little bit.
Oh, yeah, because before it went out here,
Before, yeah, he used to
looked
come
around
straight
right
here.
here.
No,
Went down-
no, this one right down. It went right, I think, yeah, it comes right down here, but he asked for it. So that's where he always drove anyway.
Everybody drives on their lawns
He
down there
drove.
anyway.
Yeah. Actually, to get to his property, you need to go beyond that. Anyway, this clarifies it all. Now it's on paper. Just trying to clean it all up.
Clean it up.
Clean it up, well, yeah, it is.
I was gonna say, four confused people said that.
I think it's kinda. Well, it probably, it was a difficult thing, because I would've liked to taken all the other stuff off it, but then I'm going.
If you want to have it all in one place.
To
it's
have
in
all
one
the,
place.
yeah, now you can just see that
Yeah, if you'd have taken it off, it would have been good.
it wouldn't,
Did you do a
yeah.
traffic study before you made this?
There's no traffic down there. It's a dead-end road.
Chip and Art and I talked about that.
The easement,
That was this. That was all done before.
oh, okay.
We did all that last summer. What we didn't do was this little tail right here.
Yeah.
Tom Farley came in once because you were not around.
Because what?
You ready for a motion?
Oh, maybe.
When you're all set?
Yeah, what's the language? Just
I never said it.
move to approve the corrective plan.
No, it's an
No,
amended
it's
plan,
not.
amended plan.
This is an amendment plan.
An amended plan.
It says
Doesn't say
correct.
that. It says corrected.
Right away extended amends plan number.
Oh,
No, it's the top, this was, that's dated this date.
Yeah, 7/2/18.
This is what you're approving. This line.
This is-
Move, I move to approve the Misty Lane right-of-way extended dated 7/2/18, amends plan number 39739.
do we have a second?
Forgot to refer to the note, that's all.
Yeah. I'll second that.
Discussion.
Hope you're done down there. Not much more white space left on your plan down
All in favor?
Aye.
there.
Opposed? Abstained?
Good night.
Congratulations. Oh, we took you 3.5 hours, Art.
Throw it away.
I ran into him in the hall a little while ago. He said, "Why didn't you tell me this was gonna happen?"
Here, I want this back.
File it.
You want it?
He's gotta bring me
It's the
in,
only one we have.
he's gotta bring me in 7 more copies of it.
The board doesn't have any. Do you have one?
You want this big
Got it.
plain back, Chip?
Here somewhere. No.
The white tail?
Oh, yeah, I do want Whitetail back. But I need another one of those too, because that one's not complete.
This isn't complete?
Oh, he's gonna spin it over.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got a collection of paper in here.
This we're throwing away, right?
The room is starting to lean to the south.
You're saying you want us to approve things, get it out of here? So you can practice your stuff?
Yes.
Are we going to adjourn?
I hope.
Okay, move to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Chuck seconded.
Oh, good. All in favor?
Aye.
I think we want to discuss.
Hit
Motion
the,
carries 4-0.
hit